13.
O'clock.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? It's Wednesday night. Time for the show.
Yeah, and like somebody mentioned, I think it was Phantom that mentioned, today is a true crime show and a paranormal show all wrapped into one.
I mean, mostly paranormal, but yeah, it does have something to do with, and I can't remember, it might have been Phantom that recommended this, because I had actually never heard of this case, even though, and CB can maybe chime in on this, but this is apparently quite a famous haunting case in the UK. I've even seen it called, like, the UK Amityville, and like a lot of paranormal. There's a ton of like paranormal researchers and YouTube channels and stuff like that, like going to this place in the UK. It's in Essex actually, and you know, trying to get. I didn't really see. I mean, I couldn't watch all of them obviously, but a bunch of paranormal groups have been there, and I don't know. A lot of them just kind of seem like, hey, did you see that? Or I caught something running across the hallway, and I'm like, bro, I didn't see anything.
I heard something.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
What'd you hear? I don't know.
It was all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There is one kind of famous clip that went around. I can't remember what group it was, but where they were all like, all the investigators or whatever were like standing around. Like, I don't know if they were doing like a seance or something, but they were all kind of like standing in a circle, and one of the women's faces goes kind of distorted, like her mouth goes like that, and like, and it looked like CG to me.
Probably was.
But you know, a lot of people were freaked out by that. But that was apparently taken like inside this house. The house is called the Cage, and they call it that because back in the day, back in the 16th century, it used to be a prison, and now it is a private residence. Here's the weird thing. I'll show you a picture of it because I was like, what the fuck does this place look like the outside of it? It looks like very unassuming, okay? Like, this is what it looks like. Okay. Now, the part at the end where the car is, that's the original cage. That's where the prison was. The other house that's, like, at the other end, I think was built in the 1800s, and then I think the middle bit was built in the 1970s. Okay. So the part at the end was how it was originally. And the bottom floor, which with the brick, apparently still kind of looks like it's got chains hanging from the walls and shit. Like, it still looks like a prison-y kind of. Yeah. But it's a private residence. And we'll get into, because a lot of the reports of paranormal stuff came from a woman called Vanessa Mitchell, who lived there for, I believe, 12 years. And she ended up writing a book about it later, like all her experiences there and stuff like that. So we'll kind of talk about that too, because I thought that was like pretty interesting, and I'm sure Tom will have some stuff to
I like
chime in about.
I've seen paranormal stuff
about all of the weird shit that went on there.
Yeah, Jen wrote a book about it, the story with my aunt, my uncle, called Mountain Poltergeist. If you guys never heard of it, it's on Amazon, and they have the audio book there for sale. I'm at the end of it because the second edition. I tell more about it and stuff, some updates, some of the stuff. And it's some weird shit. And then, you know, stuff like that still kind of happens to me today. It's just nothing like it was when I was a teenager. When I was 13 or 14, I was hot shit.
You could do all kind of paranormal stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of paranormal shit would happen. RSPK, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, visions, dreaming true a lot, all kinds of stuff I could do. It's not as good as it was. I still, you know, get messages like I knew my dad was going to die. Knew he was in the hospital. Just, you know, talking to me through the fucking fire alarm. Smoke detector.
Yeah.
Just weird shit. Sending me signals. So, but usually, you know, I'm real good at spotting stuff that's poltergeist, but sometimes this other stuff, when it's haunting, sometimes it's a mixture of poltergeist type activity with other stuff. I don't know how true it is. I was only in one house that I thought was a bad house. Other people could feel that it was a bad house. Have bad dreams there. Weird shit. Like starving puppies in the walls and crap. But I always felt like something was going to happen, but nothing ever happened physically. Just feelings of being watched. That kind of stuff. That was weird. So if there are haunted houses, that might have been one of them. But like I said, it was a bad house. But nothing ever physically happened that proved it to me. You know what I mean? I was always I had plausible deniability. Like maybe it was my imagination, maybe it's somebody else, maybe it's just a creepy house and everybody else was creeped out. You know?
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of it when I see physical evidence. You know, feelings aren't enough. You know, if I get visions, then I know it's just a vision. But if the vision turns out to be true, I go, okay, guess that was real.
Yeah.
You know, but I've had some kind of little visions or premonitions or feelings that didn't come true.
I think a lot of people have that.
Yeah.
I'd say, well, and you could argue that that's like confirmation bias because you're only remembering the ones that
right.
happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're not remembering like all the ones that didn't happen.
Yeah. You know, I've seen the real shit though. You know, physical stuff. So stuff like visions do happen. I just don't know how accurate they always are. You know.
If you hear a noise in the background, that is our douchebag neighbor. I was saying,
got his
like,
truck out in the fucking front yard.
I told Bambi earlier, I was like, I think that guy needs to meet with an accident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's got that fucking truck out there with the fucking stereo blast.
I'm like, bro, it's Wednesday night. I mean, like, it's never okay, but
Yeah.
it's just like, it's Wednesday night, yo. It's like people have to go to school and work in the morning. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
I don't get it. But yeah, so Phantoms that I found out about this case on the YouTube channel, The Tape Library. Yeah, I watched that earlier today. That was like a good breakdown. It was like an hour-long breakdown. So I took a lot of notes from that, as well as from, there was a Wikipedia page about Ursula Kemp, who was like the main, the best-known witch that was executed. And people have seen apparitions of her. That was another thing, too, that this haunting in particular, there's a lot of poltergeist type activity, but there's a lot of apparitions too. Like a lot of like people saw multiple like apparitions, which we'll get into. But yeah, Papa said, "Did you guys get my last minute super chat on Friday?" Yes, I did. I saw that. Like it was at the very very end, and I had already shut it off, but we did see it.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah. Well, you'd already walked off. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah. Thank you very much. CB said they're talking about witch panics and stuff. It's like there was a doctor in Yorkshire who would say a woman was a witch if she didn't let him suck their toes. But he finally got executed for his crimes because about 15 women died because of his actions. Wow. Yeah, I kind of feel like there was a lot of really sadistic motherfuckers back then
in that shit,
who were like, hey, like, this woman won't go out with me or won't let me have sex with her. And so I'm just going to go witch and like have her executed.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of reasons why. I'm sure that was a main reason. But a lot of women that were just midwives or were kind of like nonconformist, or women that owned property that somebody wanted, that was another thing.
Yeah.
They did that a lot.
A lot of those witch finders probably in another life just would have been a serial killer.
Yeah, but they just like had the.
They're like, how could I kill some women?
They had the backing of the law.
They're like, yeah, I'll become a witch finder.
Yeah. And very famous witch finder Matthew Hopkins, who was portrayed by Vincent Price in Witchfinder General, which we reviewed not too long ago, actually was kind of active in this area, like where this place was a prison up until, like, it was built in the 16th century. The main, witch trials that it's known for happened in 1582, but it was a prison until, like, a holding cell until 1908. So, a long time. But after that point, like I said, it kind of got kitted out and, like, turned into, like, a private residence, which it still is to this day. I'm not sure. I couldn't find much about who lives there now. I know the house was sold in 2020. But I don't know if that person is still there or not. I had heard that they had moved out because this property has a reputation for people moving in and not staying that long. Like only staying 3 or 4 years and getting the fuck out. So there's that. So like I said, I don't know. I've never been there. I've seen a couple of the YouTube channels, like paranormal investigators that went in there. And, obviously they didn't get anything super impressive or anything like that, or I would have been saying that. But, I don't know. Like I said, I have never been there. So how would I know? But yeah. CB says, Jenny Witch, the bad neighbor. I've tried. I have tried to, like, mind fuck the dude, or, I don't know, just have something happen. You know what I mean? I'll keep trying. Then I'll have plausible deniability. So I was like, what? I didn't do anything. But yeah, all right. So let's get into this because I kind of feel like what we'll do. We'll kind of give a little overview, and then I'll say a little bit about a little bit about the witch trials, and then we'll get into like the more modern day haunting, which kind of happened in the 2000s. You know what I mean? Like the woman that bought it, that is the source of most of the paranormal stuff because she lived there a long time. She moved in like 2004, I think. And then she moved out. I think she moved out in 2008 or 2009, but she actually rented it out to other people and rented it out to paranormal groups and stuff like that. But she couldn't stay there anymore, like after a while. But then finally, like in 2020, like somebody bought it for, I think, 240,000 pounds or 270,000 pounds. I'm not really sure. Like I said, it's not a huge place. I think it's only 2 bedrooms, but it still has like upstairs and downstairs. I've seen a couple pictures of the inside, like in videos of the inside, but it's hard to tell like what it looks like in there. So this place, which like I said is generally colloquially known as, oh, thank you very much, Jeffy Art, for the super chat.
Thanks,
Sorry to break the flow. There's a new Super Bowl Uber Eats commercial with Cher going back in time and accused of being a witch. It's hilarious. Oh my god, now I kind of want to see that. I always kind of felt like that's probably what would happen to me. Like if I actually got in a time machine and went, not that I would ever go back to that time period, because why the fuck would I? But I would never go back to any time period in the past, really. But yeah, like a second I stepped out of the time machine, witch, and then they burned me alive. I'm sure that's exactly what would happen. But that's now I got to go watch that because that sounds super funny. So this place, which like I said, colloquially known as the Cage, they still pretty much call it that, is in a village called St. Osyth in Essex, England. And as I mentioned, it was built in the 16th century as a prison. I don't think it was specifically built for witches, but I think it was just built as a general kind of holding cell kind of thing. But the most famous thing that happened there happened in 1582 during the St. Osyth witch trials. And at that point, and I mean, it's not a huge village, right? But 14 women were accused of witchcraft at this time. 2 of them, Ursula Kemp and Alice Newman, were hanged for witchcraft. For some reason, Ursula Kemp is the one that's the most famous. I don't know why the other chick like gets the short shrift, but there's still like a little plaque on the front of the house that, you know, says the Cage, and it says about Ursula Kemp and the St. Osyth witch trials and all that other kind of stuff. So, you know, it's kind of a historical thing, like a lot of people go there. So, as I mentioned, it is now a private residence and is very, very notorious for all of the paranormal activity that happens there. People have reported all kinds of different things. Like I said, mostly like it's poltergeist phenomena, you know, stuff like noises, cold spots, you know, your regular stuff. But they also see like apparitions, like they see people in the windows or like people walking in the, you know, outside or something like that. Like some people have reported seeing who they think is Ursula Kemp herself, like walking around like through the house or like around the outside. Like that's been reported more than once. And several people have also reported seeing a little girl looking out of the windows. That's been reported several times. And they don't know, because when they were doing renovations on the house in the early 1900s, like I'm presuming like before it was turned into a private residence, they reportedly found a child's skull during the renovations. So some people have said that that's this little girl's spirit is maybe related to that skull that they found. So, you know, and you get your standard stuff too, like people feeling like they're being watched or the atmosphere being very oppressive, like, you know, temperature changes, stuff like that, orbs, shit like that. EVP, a lot of people have gotten voices coming up on EVPs. Like I said, I didn't really hear anything from any of the YouTube channels that I saw. Like there's a lot of them and I didn't have time to watch them all, but nothing I heard was like super impressive. Another thing that's pretty common is like people hear growling, which like I'll get into in a little bit. I don't know why that is, but a lot of people have reported that. So as I said, for a while after Vanessa Mitchell, who was, you know, the main woman that reported most of the paranormal stuff because she lived there a long time, she actually, after she fled the house, she rented it out to who's the SPR, like the Society for Psychical Research or whatever.
Yeah, Morse Gross.
Yeah,
Morse Gross. Yeah.
She rented it out to and other paranormal groups could come and stay there. Yeah. But I don't think you can anymore because now it's been bought. So I don't think you can do that. But for a while she was renting it out just to get some money. And so people were going in there making videos and stuff. But like I said, I don't think that you can do that anymore. So what happened with this? So as I mentioned, there was kind of a video going around with the paranormal activity with the woman's face distorting. But I don't know. I saw it. A lot of people that did YouTube videos about this use that as their thumbnail because it is a freaky looking image, but it's the night vision camera. Yeah. So which looks freaky anyway.
It's already grainy.
So it's already kind of grainy and it's kind of blue.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of standing there and everyone's in a circle and her mouth just goes like that and her eyes get all black and all this other kind of stuff. And I was just, like I said, it kind of looked like CGI to me.
Probably fake.
It looked kind of fake. It was freaky looking, but it just looked kind of fake. So the history of this place. So as I mentioned, St. Osyth, very small village in Essex. And they had, the Witchfinder General, Matthew Hopkins, was quite active in the area at this time. And right around this area, it was thought that, at least 1,000 people, maybe more, were accused of witchcraft. They weren't all executed, but, some of them were. Yeah. Now, the most famous witch coming from this particular, she wasn't really a witch, obviously. Nobody was, yeah. But it's just kind of that's what they called her.
Witch.
Suspected
Accused
witch. Yeah. Which I'm sure was bullshit. Was Ursula Kemp. Now, she was actually, I believe, at the time that she was arrested. I was picturing her, I guess because they say accused witch, so I always think of an older woman, but she was actually young. She was 27. And she was from there. She was a native of St. Osyth, the village. And she actually had a son named Tom, who was 8. And the father, the kid's father either fucked off or left, or she left him or something like that. So, single mom in this time period, this was, in the 1580s, probably not a good look, I'm sure. So she was also acting as a midwife. That was how she made her money, and a wet nurse also. And what happened to, she was technically, I'm not saying she was technically practicing what they would call practicing witchcraft. She was what they call a cunning woman, meaning that she knew, home remedies and shit like that, which they thought was very suspect.
They called her cunning? A cunning
woman? A cunning woman, that's what they used to call it.
Called her.
Well, and see,
a crafty chick.
Everybody liked that. Yeah. They'd go to her for, healing stuff and love spells and stuff like that until somebody got mad at her about something. Right. And then you're going to the gallows, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a dangerous profession to be in back then. So what ended up happening with her, I think, is that she got sick and used some of these herbs and stuff to heal herself. So then she kind of figured out how to do it, and then she started doing it for other people. And the trouble started, though, she was doing that for a while, and like I said, she was a midwife too. She was doing that for a while, but then there was another woman in the village who had a son who was sick. And this woman, I think her name was Grace, and she brought the son to Ursula to heal him, and Ursula actually said that she would do it for nothing, she would heal him for nothing. And it worked. The boy got better. I mean, he might have got better anyway. I don't know. However, the kid got better. But then the mom, Grace, then she got sick. So she's like, well, shit. So then she goes back to Ursula and says, hey, I'll pay you if you give me the same treatment that you gave to the son. So Ursula's like, all right, deal. So she gives her the same treatment. But then Grace says, oh, by the way, I don't have any money. You know what I mean? After she already gave her the shit. I can't afford it. So because of this, what happened after this was that she had another kid, a baby. And the baby, fell out of the crib and broke its neck and died. right?
That's
like
odd.
Like not too long after this. I mean, it happens, I'm sure. Like it was just a cot. I don't think it was a crib.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah, I'm sure that happened all the time.
Safety, probably.
Yeah.
Crib design was not at its pinnacle.
I mean, most things weren't at their pinnacle. It's kind of the Middle Ages still. So the baby died, and then the mom and the son got sick again. And so the mom thinks that bitch Ursula did this to me because I didn't pay, like, for the healing that she gave me, right? So she accused her of being a witch. And, obviously if you accuse somebody of witchcraft, they're not going to listen to anything you say. They're just going to go arrest you, right?
Yeah.
Yep, witch. So she gets arrested, Ursula does, in 1582, in February.
Now, how old is she?
27, I said. She was
27?
Yeah.
So she's a young woman.
Yeah. I was picturing like an old hag, but
yeah.
as far as I know, she was only 27 years old. Which, yeah. So that's what happened. It's just like, it was just sour grapes. Like somebody suspected that she was behind, like, killing her kids because she didn't pay. You know what I mean? So they put Ursula in the cage. You know, the little house prison thing that I just showed you. And they subjected her to interrogation, which I assume means torture. They also interrogated her 8-year-old son. And because of the torture, you guys know how that works. They're going to torture you until you just say whatever they want you to say, just to get them to stop it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know why. I've always been like, I don't know why that didn't occur to them. It did occur to them. I think they just liked doing it. You know? I think they were just fucking sadists.
Yeah, hard to say. I mean,
maybe some of them were idiots and it really didn't occur to them.
Dumb. They were kind of dumb back then.
That it's like, well, if you just, like, subject somebody to horrible pain and, like, pull their toenails out and their tongues and stuff like that, they're just going to say anything you want to hear to get you to quit.
I'm sure they had some kind of religious explanation for everything.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Well, if they were innocent, God would have come down and stopped me. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that's...
If they were innocent, God would be protecting them and they wouldn't feel any of this pain.
Right.
So they're guilty.
Oh, I'm sure.
They
I'm sure
that's
that's
any fucking thing.
Yeah.
That's the way they were.
That's the thing. That's what's kind of so scary about it. It's why I'm not a big fan of religion in general. Is that you can use it to justify any fucked up shit that you want to do.
They would use phantasmal evidence against you.
Yeah.
Somebody
that's what happened in the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
Like
somebody claiming that they saw an apparition of a devil that said that person was a witch.
Yeah, and they're just like, oh, really?
Really? Wow. Okay, well, that's evidence. We're entering that in the court. She saw the devil, and the devil told her that bitch is a witch. So, shit. You gonna call the devil a liar?
Yeah, I'm just gonna write
that
that down. That is solid evidence right there. Yeah, that happened in the Salem witch trials. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like
kinds of shit.
Yeah, like the girls in the courtroom began like, "There's devils flying around right now. You guys can't see them, but they're pinching me and stuff." And everybody's like, "Oh my god!"
Devils are flying around everywhere. Enter that into the court.
Yeah.
Phantasmal evidence.
Yeah. We can't see them, but they're definitely here. They're pinching these poor girls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the 14-year-old girl said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling. They were stupid back then. I mean, like I said, I'm sure some of them were aware and just kind of used it to their own ends.
It was moral. It was moral panics.
I think most of them were
against people with very limited education, very limited exposure to things.
Yeah.
You know, we have the internet, so we're exposed to all kinds of shit. They were like babes in the woods compared to us. You know.
Zach gave us a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, Zach. Apropos of nothing, but been watching a lot of Beatles vids lately. A show about conspiracies about them could be cool, or John Lennon's murder. Oh yeah, I don't think we ever did a John. We talked about a couple Beatles conspiracies, I think, when we just did Rock and Roll Mysteries.
Yeah, fucking Revolution Number 9 and Backward Masking, I think
we talked about that. Maybe the Paul is dead thing.
Yeah, the Paul is dead thing.
But I don't think we ever talked about the John Lennon murder. So that might be a good topic to get into. I'll look into it, but I don't think we've done that, actually. But yeah, I think we did talk about the Paul is dead thing at some point. But I think it was on Rock and Roll Mysteries, like the first one that we did. So yeah. So I'm assuming, I don't know if they tortured her 8-year-old son, as well, I'm presuming they probably did, because that's just how they rolled. But because they presumably tortured her, she finally did admit oh, by the way, I have a whole bunch of familiars. I don't know what animals they were.
Yeah.
And one of these familiars, I did indeed send it to push that baby off the fucking car.
Okay, yeah.
I just sent a little raccoon or something,
Yeah.
like, to go and boop, and just, like,
Right.
push that baby right off of there. So, yeah.
Ridiculous.
And again, because they'll torture you, too, until you're like, names, we want more names. So she gave 12 other names. I would have given the name of the woman that accused me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to get tortured, your
You-
bitch ass
yeah.
is going to
She
get
didn't do
tortured,
that?
too. I don't think she did.
Man, I'd have done that.
I would have definitely done that.
Maybe she didn't know who was accusing her.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I would have. I don't know. I don't know what the situation was. Like, maybe she didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But I'd just be like, I'm gonna fucking accuse that Grace
Yeah.
bitch. She's a witch too. Get her in here and pull her toenails out.
You do what they did in the Salem witch trial that shut it all down when they started fucking accusing the governor's wife and the governor of
Yeah.
shit. Okay, that's it. There's no witches. Yeah.
Never mind.
Never mind. Just start.
See,
naming,
that's what you got to do. Just like,
start naming the fucking most powerful people in the area.
yeah, the dude that's torturing you. Hey, I saw your wife there.
Yeah, your wife
Matter
was
of
there.
fact,
Your mom. Yeah.
that man, your wife, she had like the devil was balls deep in her ass.
That's right. That's right.
I saw that whole
the
situation.
cheeks were flapping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta get him back, man.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, okay, never mind. We're just gonna stop that. But yeah, I kind of I don't know, but I don't know why she didn't. I don't think she did accuse like the main woman though. But yeah, so she did like give 12 other names, and all of them, of course, got arrested and thrown into the cage as well. So yeah, so it was her. And she had a friend named Alice Newman, who, as I mentioned before, was the only other one that was hanged. All the other ones, I don't know if they were let go. I'm presuming they were, because it was like a pretty tiny place and you couldn't really keep it. It was just like a holding cell kind of place. But they were not hanged. Just Ursula Kemp and Alice
Look at all this money,
Newman
man.
were.
Flashbulbs fucking flash.
Oh, wow. Thank
very
you
much.
again. Thank you again.
People must be making money this week. We haven't had super chats in a long time.
Not yet.
Yeah.
On Friday we get one.
Off and on,
like,
yeah.
Thank you very much, Zach. And I saw Goody Warren with the devil. Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
That's what. If that ever happens again, which I don't doubt it might at some point, but it's like, yeah, I'm totally accusing like some fucking whoever's torturing me. I was like, yeah, I saw your fucking wife doing that shit. Yeah, but yeah. So she goes to trial, like her and Alice Newman, and they were actually accused of like, not necessarily murders, but like witchcrafty deaths, like causing death through witchcraft. You know what I mean? Of a couple kids. So she goes to trial in 1582, like in March. And she basically, and they also got her 8-year-old son to testify against her at the trial. Which, like I said,
she probably fucking.
I'm sure they probably tortured him and told him what to say. And,
Yeah.
you know, he's 8.
Oh yeah, 8. You can't even think for yourself.
So it's like they probably told him all kind of crazy fucking stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it's like, hey, we're going to pull your tongue out if you don't say this and that and the other thing. Because that's how they, like I said, that's how they rolled. So they got her 8-year-old kid to go on the stand and say, yeah, my mom's totally a witch. And yeah, she has familiars. And they suck her blood out of, because that's how witches do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a familiar and that's what the witches' teats are for.
Yeah, okay. So they can get blood out of you.
You didn't know that?
I've heard of them, but I don't know exactly what they're
Because you know how, like, the witch finders would go around and, like, they had the little witch poker thing? The witch
Yeah.
poker?
Yeah.
I don't know if it had a name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little needle. And it's like they'd go and they'd find any little mole or zit or whatever, like, on your body. And better if it was, like, on your tits or something like that, so they could, like, strip you. Because they loved doing that.
Yeah.
Or your vag. So
Yeah.
then they would just go and poke it. And if it didn't bleed, or if you didn't seem to feel any pain from it, and they're like, witch!
Yeah.
Although I kind of feel like if it did bleed or you did feel pain from it, they'd probably find some excuse to, like, accuse you of being a witch anyway, because I think they'd already decided. But it's, like, funny that they just had... That was, like, a tool of the trade.
Yeah.
The witch finder going around with his little witch poker... Little poker thing. Like, poking people in the boob.
Yeah. Yeah, I had read about what had happened in some of the stuff in the American colonies. Not everybody believed that shit. There was one where they were finding witches. There was a dude that comes into town and he starts finding witches, and he pulls out a fucking pretty good-looking girl that everybody knew, and he starts fucking testing her as a witch. And he goes, "Yeah, she's a witch." And I think he did fucking. He poked her with a couple things. He did some things. And the captain of the militia jumped up there and says, "Wait a minute, hold on," and questioned that test, and says, "No, let's try it on somebody else." And that test failed. And he goes, "Okay, then she must not be a witch," and he let her go. Then he grabbed another woman and did basically the same thing, and that fucking captain was afraid to step up for that one, because if you do it too many times, you'll be accused.
You're a witch.
You must be a warlock. Yeah.
You're sticking up for all these evil.
He saved the first hottie he could, and I think they'd already killed a couple. They already killed a couple people.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the shitty thing about it. Yeah. That's why they use the witch panics as an example of a feedback loop, because you couldn't people got accused. And then if you stood up and be like, "Hey, this is bullshit," then they would accuse you too. So people were afraid to.
Right. But he had some local military power, so he felt he had some protection. And he probably knew that. Look, he probably knew human nature pretty well. You know what I mean? He goes, "This is bullshit. He's just here killing people and making money off of it."
Yeah, that's what they were all doing.
But he was also afraid of the power of the mob. So, if you try to save too many people, they would go, "You're a warlock."
Yeah, they'd be like, "You're working for the devil.
You're working for the devil.
You're pulling all these women out of flames."
So your military prowess and your status might not save you.
It would save you up to a point.
Only up to a point.
But yeah.
So when I read about that, and even the author mentioned what I'm saying, not everybody believed.
Yeah.
But people were afraid to go against it.
Yeah, I think that was what the problem was. I think most people probably thought it was bullshit.
Yeah.
Because some dude come rolling up into the town and be like, "That's a witch, and that's a witch." And then "Bitch, I've known her forever. She's not a witch, it's fine." But it's just no one was, everybody was afraid to say something, because then you'd get your ass
it was a moral panic
alive too. So like I said, it was a feedback loop, and it took a really long time to get out of it.
They knew how to incite panic in a crowd.
Yeah.
And they just turned the mob against you.
Yeah. We got another super chat.
Hey,
Papa77.
What's up, Papa77? Thank you.
Colder than a witch's tit.
Yeah.
I wonder where that... Because I've heard that.
Because they're not warm and lovely.
I guess.
They're not warm and loving at all. They're just cold.
But
cold as a witch's tit in a brass bra.
Yeah.
That's
the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's why they had... That's where I was going with that. That's why they had that witch's poker thing. Because they thought that any mole or any protrusion that you had in your body that was unusual was where your familiars suckled. And they didn't drink milk, they drank blood.
Yeah.
Because Satan. So that was why they looked for that. So I'd be in big trouble because I got a big mole. No, it's not big.
Yeah, I saw I remember woodcuts. I think it was from the Malleus Maleficarum. What was it? Fucking the Devil's Hammer or whatever. What was the name of that?
It's Witch's Hammer.
Witch's Hammer.
The Malleus Maleficarum.
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 And I remember they in those woodcuts, it immortalizes a witch's familiars that they got during out of torture and what the names of them were. And one of them was some Small Tom or something Tom, Sly Tom, some shit, and it was a
Shifty Tom.
I was laughing
Tom.
at it. It was a fucking ferret.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was a ferret, and it had its name above it. And there were some other ones.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want a ferret familiar.
That was her familiar, a ferret.
Yeah. Our kitties are our familiars.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oracle says, witch trials were also a handy way to acquire property back in the day. Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was any woman that was not conforming to the mores of the village or had something that somebody else wanted or wouldn't go along with someone's wishes was going to be in the crosshairs.
There was more than that.
Eventually. There was lots of reasons.
If you were too pretty.
That too.
If you were a dude that was fucking too handsome, the girls liked you too much because you could play violin, they got you. Fucking, they didn't do anything.
Because all the ugly dudes in town would be like, we need to get rid of this menace.
Yeah, it was just anybody who stood out.
He's taking all our women.
Kind of like communist panics during the Stalin era. if you showed any character, then you were a threat. So they fucking got rid of your ass. They find some kind of crime. Because they were just looking for people to send to gulags and to execute. They had orders to execute a certain amount a month during Stalin period.
We have a quota.
Yeah, there was quotas. And then when you met the quota, they said, oh, fine, if you met that quota, then there must be another 20,000 out there in that county. Get them.
See, that's why they always...
That's the way they would do it.
That's when, like, if you have a job or something like that, and they're just like, hey, if you can do this much, then you can do this
more.
much.
Yeah,
you know
can
what
do
I
it
mean?
again.
So it's like, don't even get on that.
It was the same kind of shit. Except the Stalin fucking crowd were just trying to depopulate Russia. You know, they couldn't feed everybody. So they just did anything they could to try to reduce the population. Because they were so poor at managing fucking farmland and shit.
Phantom said, I went to the Salem Witch Museum in Salem, Massachusetts for a family vacation. I would love to go there, actually. I've never been. He said once back in the 90s. It was definitely a fun, memorable experience. Yeah, the closest thing I've been to, it's like here in St. Augustine, they have a really nice torture museum, which does have... It's kind of witchcrafty, but it's mostly just torture in general. But it's small, but it's actually like really nice. But I would like to go to Salem one of these days, just to see it. You were in Boston. You never went. You never went to Salem.
Oh yeah, I went to the Witch Museum and everything.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah.
well that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So I didn't know you'd been there.
Cambriel was from there.
That's what. Yeah. I remember that. But yeah, I
saw the Witch Museum.
Yeah.
Stephanie took me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to go one day.
It was pretty cool.
I've never been.
It was pretty cool. It's not big.
No. Well, like I said,
yeah.
A lot of them aren't. Like the Torture Museum in St. Augustine is not huge,
and
but it's really nicely done.
I saw all the graves of all the people killed by the witch trials.
Yeah.
All their graves were there. The governor of the town. I don't think Tituba was there, but a lot of those people. But their graves were there.
Where is she buried? Do you know?
I don't remember. She might be there, but I just don't remember that. I just don't remember that name being there. But a lot of the ones that went through like a heavy trial, ended up in the books and shit. The kind of ones that they made plays about and shit.
They have poor old Giles Corey that got pressed to death by the stones.
Him. Yeah, and the
whose
guides,
last words were more weight.
The guides take you through there and they tell you who each one of these people were and what happened to them. And the headstones, I think, are mostly original, but I think a lot of them might be reproductions. But that is the grave site, and some of the buildings are still there. Although I don't know how... They may not be original.
Yeah, I mean, they might have been renovated.
Renovated at different times.
Yeah.
But you can't go in them.
Yeah.
They're just... look like well-built shacks to me. They weren't painted or anything.
Yeah.
Brown wood. Which that's why I don't know how they were. I don't know how they could be original. They were old.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't treat wood back then.
True.
You know.
Yeah, probably would have just been eaten by.
It would have been eaten up. So, but it's a tourist area, but it didn't really strike me as super touristy. It looked like the rest of the area.
Yeah. Oracle says, I personally think The Hammer of Witches was written by a guy who had major sexual hang-ups. Oh, big time. Big time. I think a lot of these shenanigans, I think, stemmed from that.
Well, like I said, in another era, these guys probably just would have been serial killers.
Yeah. But
imagine if Ted Bundy was given this kind of power.
Oh my God.
With all kinds of shit.
He'd have just been like, what? I get to do this for a living? I get paid? Yeah. Sweet.
And he'd have to kind of like mask it in a religious-y kind of background, but he'd be able to do things like torture women.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure, like, I would even argue that probably a majority of them got off on it.
I can't imagine any other kind of dude that would like that job or believe in that job.
Yeah, who would want to do that?
Yeah.
Unless you were already a sicko.
I don't think people believed it. I think a lot of people thought it was bullshit.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like...
Only dumbasses believed it, I think.
I mean, you kind of had to be messed up to even want to do that in the first place.
There were people with fucking heads wrapped up in religion.
Yeah, and like I said...
if you can believe one fucking crazy tale, you'll believe another crazy tale.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's like you can justify anything. You know what I mean? As soon as you bring in, I believe things without evidence,
right?
Then you'll believe anything,
right?
Pretty much.
I believe,
which is what makes it.
I believe the evidence that you pull out of thin air,
right?
Spectral evidence phantasmal evidence and
that
shit.
kills me that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, like,
Yeah.
because they were idiots, but that blows my fucking
They
mind.
weren't idiots, though, because other people in other jurisdictions were like, that's not law.
Yeah.
So it was just those people.
Well, those people were idiots.
Those people were they were religious fanatics.
Yeah.
Always. It didn't happen in other places. You had to be Puritans. Christian Puritans.
It's like there's invisible people walking around
Yeah.
pinching my ass right now.
They did it in France, I think, a little bit, but I think they outgrew it and shit. I don't think they were real puritanical. But American Protestant Puritans were ripe for that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's a special kind of
Yeah.
fucked up. Yeah, Oracle said arguably they were serial killers whose MO was the legal system of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good way of putting it, actually.
You got to look at it through the eyes of a modern person. A person's going to go to what they want to do.
Yeah.
They're going to gravitate towards a profession that satisfies them. In a modern era, that'd be a serial killer.
Yeah.
That would want a job like that. You could say, well, he's just devout. From mostly what I remember reading about them, they were not devout Christians, and they weren't trained in religion. They were just trained in the folk ways of trying to find a witch, and they invented that. They pulled that shit out of their ass.
Yeah, of course they did.
So most of them weren't religiously trained. They just were con men. They knew how to whip up a crowd and make a frenzy.
Because a lot of them
And
would
kill
go
people.
to town
Yeah.
and be like, hey, you guys got a big witch
I'll walk in
problem.
here, I can tell there's witches here.
Witch.
Yeah. We're going to get these witches out of here and make this place safe.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay me.
Yeah.
And then he fucking kills your relatives.
Yeah. Probably, I kind of feel like maybe they had a hard line to walk, though, because it's like if you get in there and you fuck up too many families, then people are going to turn against you. You have to kind of know when to quit, but I'm not real sure.
It would not surprise me if those guys would go into certain towns and go, I ain't going to fuck around here.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think they looked for
They look for easy marks.
upper middle class, religiously upstanding communities. That's who would go for it.
Yeah.
You take that shit down to a frontier village of fucking people surviving and shit, and fucking real fighters. They're gonna let you kill their wife. They're gonna say, I don't give a fuck if she's a witch, and you're gonna fucking cut your head off. If that's a witch, that's some badass pussy. That's what's gonna happen. All right, a Quaker's not gonna fucking do that. Oh well, okay. You can cuck him out. Well, I'm gotta be a good person, so yeah, I guess my wife is a witch. Yeah. But, real
Shit, man,
frontiersmen didn't have those moral problems.
Shit, man.
They were practical.
You try to blame me of being a witch and take
Yeah.
me somewhere, I'll fight you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going any place with
If
you.
that's a witch, then fucking fuck it. I don't care.
That's my witch.
Kill him. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
You
That's
know
what
I
would
mean?
happen to a lot of people.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. It's just, but yeah, that was a total grift back then. Like going from town to town. That's what these witchfinder generals. That's what they would do. Like I said in the movie, Matthew Hopkins was kind of the most famous one, but you had these kind of dudes doing this where they were just like freelance witchfinders, I guess, and you would just go like from village to village and be like, hey, if they were like an exterminator, except they were killing innocent women. So that's nice. Instead of vermin. So, yeah. So Ursula Kemp, along with her friend, Alice, were hanged. The other 12 women that were accused, I believe, were released or at least were transferred to another prison. I'm not real clear on that. All of them were not hanged, but those two were. And for whatever reason, Ursula Kemp became the most famous witch out of all of that. I guess because, I mean, they all got fucked over, but I guess she was just like she was kind of a well-known figure in the town. Like, a lot of people had gone to her for healing and stuff like that, and then, shit happened and somebody turned on her, and then she ended up getting hanged, and I think a lot of people kind of resonated with that. So I'm not really sure what Alice's situation was, but Ursula was the one that got the most famous. So the house where they were kept, which, like I said, variously called the cage, sometimes it's just called the witch prison or whatever, that was actually still kind of a prison / holding cell type situation up until 1908. Obviously, they weren't keeping witches in there, but, you know, just local criminals, that kind of stuff. And then after that, they turned it into a residence, like a cottage. And then, as I mentioned, they built another cottage, like, down at the end of the row. And then, like, in the 70s, they, like, hooked them together, you know? So, it's kind of a weird-looking situation. Like I said, when I was picturing the place, and then I saw a picture of it, I was just kind of like, that's not at all what I was picturing. I guess when you say the cage or a witch prison, I'm picturing something that looks like the fucking Tower of London, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of something that just looks like a row house, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like a little house like at the end of like a street with a pub on it or something like that. But that's exactly what it looks like, which is crazy. But so yeah, so some of the prison stuff is still there. Like the bottom part where the brick is, it's still kind of like, I think that's like where the holding cell was or where the dungeon was. So there were still like chains on the walls and that kind of stuff. They just left them there, I guess, for atmosphere. I don't know. But it's a little bitty house. Like, so you have the original cell, and then there's like a little front room and like a little kitchen, and then there's like a door that goes to like a staircase, and then upstairs are 2 bedrooms and a bathroom.
And we're filling your drink.
Okay. And then behind the house, there's like a little alley, and they call it Coffin Alley because back in those days, they used to, reportedly, carry the coffins like to the graveyard nearby, and that's like the path that they used to take them on. So they call it Coffin Alley still to this day. So, as I mentioned, most of the stuff about the paranormal activity, there were reports of it before this, but I kind of feel like it sort of got really famous after this woman, Vanessa Mitchell, bought it in 2004. And she said that prior to her buying it, that really nobody stayed in it that long. Like I said, so people would move in and then they would, you know, flee after like a couple of years. And there was one situation reportedly where somebody bought it and then like they were only there for a very short time and then they sold it for like 150 pounds or something because they just wanted to get rid of it. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how the story goes. So another thing that happened was that the couple that had lived there prior to her in the 90s, I'm not sure if this is, but I know that the previous resident before Vanessa Mitchell lived there, he hanged himself in that house, reportedly. So there was that. I'm not sure if he was the male of the couple that lived there in the 90s or if there was another, because like I said, a lot of people lived in there like in short succession, like after the 90s up until she bought it. So there was that. But the couple that lived there in the 90s reported some weird shit too. Like they said that one night they had some friends over and they all heard like this crashing noise like coming from upstairs, and then they went up there and all of the books had flown out of the bookshelf. Like the bookshelf was still standing there like normal.
Victor just showed up. What's up, Victor Garcia? Haven't seen your ass around.
Hey, what's up? But yeah, but all the books had come out and were like on the floor, like in a pile. And they also, the woman that used to live there, she said that she felt something crawl into bed with her, like a little kid, but there wasn't anything there. So she felt that as well. So like I said, the main paranormal stuff comes mostly from this woman, Vanessa Mitchell, that she bought it in 2004. Now she was from this village. She was born in Saint Osyth, but she had actually lived abroad most of the life. I think she lived in Tenerife, which is in the Canary Islands, if you don't know. But then she decided at some point that she was going to move back to St. Osyth, where she was born, and she knew about the cage. Like, everybody in the village kind of knew about it because, like I said, there's a plaque on it, so everybody kind of knew the history about it, that it used to be a witch prison. But she said that when she was a kid, she used to walk past it all the time, and she used to be, like, really fascinated by it, about all the stuff about the witch trials and everything. Now, she had heard around town that it was haunted. Everybody kind of knew that. But she didn't really mind that. According to her, she had been experiencing paranormal activity most of her life. Like, she could see spirits and things like that. So the prospect of it being haunted didn't really seem to bother her all that much. And she also said that she thought maybe that the house wanted her to live there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because she's like, when she moved back to St. Osyth and she saw that it was for sale, and she just had this feeling that she was supposed to have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, they did tell her, I believe, that the previous owner had died in there, had committed suicide in the house, but this did not really bother her either. So, she moves into this house in 2004. And she didn't move in by herself. She had a roommate. It was a friend of hers, whose name was Nicole. And they really didn't... I feel like the activity started, like, almost immediately. Like, as soon as they were moved in. They said that the first thing that happened that Vanessa remembered happening was that right after they moved in, like, maybe just the same day or the day after, she said she was in the kitchen and she was looking out the window into the alley, into Coffin Alley behind the house. And she heard footsteps behind her. Now, she thought it was Nicole, as you would, because she just heard somebody, like, coming up behind her. But she turned around, and it was not Nicole. It was actually, like, a shadow figure dude. Like, she's like, it looked like a man, but, like, kind of black and blurry on the edge. She called him the Shadow Man.
Yeah.
She said he was, like, about 6 feet tall. Like, it looked like a dude, but he was just, like, nebulous, like, at the edges. And he was just standing there, like, looking at her, kind of, except he didn't have a face. So,
what year was this, more or less?
2004,
okay.
This happened. This is when she first moved into the house. And like I said, she knew that it was haunted going into it, but I don't know if she realized it was this haunted, you know? Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah. So she said that was the first thing that she remembered seeing. And she said, so she looks at this apparition, and it's like standing there, and then it kind of turned and started trying to walk away, but then, like, faded, like, while it was walking. And then she saw Nicole outside, so obviously it wasn't Nicole. She's like, she knew it wasn't Nicole, because Nicole doesn't look like a 6-foot shadow man, but you know what I mean? So you couldn't, like, say maybe she just saw something else and thought it was that, but yeah. Now, she saw the shadow man, like, a bunch of times, honestly. That was probably the most common apparition. They saw other ones, too, that looked more like people, but she saw that one, like, a bunch of times. Now, at this point, Vanessa is like, she didn't tell Nicole what she saw. Because Nicole had moved in with her because she was sick. She had cancer, and she was undergoing treatment for cancer, like chemo or whatever. And so she had moved in with her, like, for her to help out, you know, and, like, so she was under a lot of stress and stuff like that. She's like, I don't want to stress her out even further by saying, hey, there's a shadow man in our fucking house. You know what I mean? Understandable. So she didn't tell her. So she's like, after that, it seemed to go quiet for a little while. Like, you know, for like a month or something, like nothing happened really. But then there was kind of a creepy incident where Vanessa goes into the kitchen and she sees like a piece of paper on the kitchen counter that was not there before. Like, she's like, it was just like a regular ass piece of paper, like it just came out of the printer or something like that. And she looks down at it, and it was a death certificate for the dude that had hanged himself in the house, like prior to her moving into there. and she couldn't figure out how it got there. They found out later because I don't know if they contacted the dude's widow or if she contacted them, like when she heard about it. But she's like, look, I have the only copy of the death certificate. I don't know why that would be there or anything like that, how it would end up in that house. So, yeah, but she says she found it, like in the kitchen, just laying there on the fucking counter. So that's pretty freaky. And then another thing that happened later on that year was that Vanessa had a cousin named Christine. And Christine would come over sometimes when she was at work or something like that. She would leave like the key under the mat for her, and Christine would come in and like, you know, clean the house or whatever, like just do little shit for her around the house. And so Christine came over one day, like to do something in the house. And so she got the key and she went in the house. And then she's in the kitchen and she was looking out the window. And then she was like, she said she felt really cold all of a sudden, like, and kind of like oppressive, like there was somebody else in the house. And then she said that she felt somebody tapping the back of her head, like not hard, but just like with their finger, you know what I mean, like back, 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 like that. And of course she like whips around like, what the fuck, and there's nobody there. She did say though that behind her there were these like little packets of sugar that had been on the counter, but now they were like on the floor.
Yeah,
you
like
know what I mean?
Poltergeist.
Yeah, like, yeah. So it's a similar kind of like they had teleported.
Yeah,
kinda.
Yeah, I've seen that kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Read the book.
Read the book. That sounds like that commercial from like back in the 90s or whatever. Wasn't that fucking, what were those books called?
What's that?
Where that just said read the book.
I don't remember.
That might have been the Dianetics commercial.
Yeah, it sounds like Dianetics.
It might have been the Dianetics commercial, or it might have been the ones that were like Mysteries of the Unexplained or whatever. It was like that series. Yeah. You got a new one every month or something. Yeah. I read most of those, but I checked them out of the library. I didn't buy them. But yeah, so other people, like I said, experience stuff in this house, not just Vanessa. You know what I mean? So, you know, to make of that what you will. So another thing that they saw, and both Vanessa and Nicole reported seeing this. She's like, they were both in the house one night and they're just like hanging out in the living room, and they started seeing, much like the movie that we reviewed on Monday, like a bunch of lights kind of dancing around, like up by the ceiling.
Yeah, it's been in several cases.
Yeah,
it's down like it was in the Entity case.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, they were dancing around near the floor where the wall met the carpet.
Yeah.
They were in other places too. Just kind of like a prismatic, morphing kind of light ball. There might be 3 or 4 of them together, you know. There might be one by itself, kind of dancing around, putting on a show, and then they just fade away. No explanation.
Yeah. But this was kind of similar. She said they were just these little twinkly kind of lights up by the ceiling, like kind of swirling around. And both her and Nicole saw them because she said, do you see that? And she's like, yeah, I see it. This one, she said, much like in the movie that we reviewed on Monday, which was sort of based on a real case, except not really. She said this manifestation did not bother her. Like, this one actually seemed positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess that's maybe another common thing in a lot of paranormal cases, where if you see these kind of like little lights dancing around, like it almost seems like people are more inclined to see that as like friendly.
Yeah, well, it's like fairies.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, so she's like, they weren't really scared of this. Yeah. It just seemed like, she said that this seemed like almost like protective. Yeah. More than some of the other shit that she saw.
Poltergeist phenomena can do that. If you guys know what I'm talking about, poltergeists are not ghosts. They're an artificial ghost. It's recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. The psychokinesis of the unconscious mind. It's recurrent. It continues to happen, and it's spontaneous. It's not under the control of the person that's generating it. And it's usually, a bunch of reasons why it's happening. A lot of times it kind of manifests itself into a ghost-like apparition, or not really a physical apparition all the time, but just does things that you would think a ghost might do. But then it does a bunch of other stuff that a ghost wouldn't do, like stack shit up and make things in geometric patterns, you know, on the floor. And just, it's like an attention-seeking thing. It's not the undead. It's the unconscious psychokinesis. Or it's the psychokinesis of a person. But it's their subconscious mind doing it, not their conscious mind. It's the same part of you that controls all the characters in your dreams. The ones that attack you or talk to you. They seem like they're an independent person, but they're not. They're in your subconscious. It's generating that. It's that. It's just that it's using psychokinesis. Now, could a place like this upset a person to the point to where their subconscious might do that for a while? Because they think it should be haunted? Maybe. But but there's no proof.
Yeah, I mean, your energy might be interacting with it.
Well,
it might be manifesting something.
It could also be that she read some poltergeist cases and then just told a story based on what she read. You don't know.
Yeah, that's the
You're
thing. It's like because I was watching a couple different documentaries or, a couple different YouTube videos about this. And nobody seemed super, super skeptical, but they were pointing out that she was someone that was a believer in the paranormal. She did claim that she had seen spirits her entire life.
Yeah.
So she was very open to this, and she might have just made the story up. On the other hand, I mean, she did write a book about it and stuff like that, but on the other hand, she didn't really make any money off of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it seems like it cost her more trouble because for a long time, like I said, she did flee the house, which we'll get to in a bit, and she ended up saddled with it, and she rented it out. Like the renters would leave, and she couldn't sell it for like 12 years. So, it seemed like more trouble than it was worth, maybe.
If you want to know more about poltergeist, Jane wrote a really good book about it. She compiled a shit ton of rare cases that I never heard of. It's called The Unseen Hand. You can get it on fucking Amazon. And we have an audiobook version of it too. And that audiobook sells pretty well. You can sit back and listen. And she'll tell you that all the fucking poltergeist cases she found, and they're bizarre. Some of them involve pyrokinesis.
There's a whole chapter about that.
Spontaneous fires, burning in weird places.
Whole chapter about water and blood raining.
Yeah, water coming out of walls, unexplained. Witnesses.
Whole chapter about rocks falling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's more than what I saw. I never saw anything that I thought was supernatural in terms of... Well, at first I thought it was a ghost, but now looking back on it, I know what it was. And then when I saw a psychic phenomenon, that's paranormal. I was in a house that was bad. I've had out-of-body experiences. I had a near-death experience in a motorcycle wreck. The whole fucking tunnel of light, the judgments, and the fucking all that. I went through all that shit, getting set back. And then I had a spontaneous out-of-body experience where I just saw myself from above. And I was in the Army at the time, and a guy in my dorm, in the barracks, saw it happen. His name was Kent Davis. He saw it. And he shook me out of it. He goes, "What was that?" And I explained it to him. He goes, "Dude, that's fucked up. Don't you ever fucking talk about that shit." I said, "Yeah."
Well, he thought you were dead.
Thought I was dead, yeah. Because I was just fucking almost like in rigor mortis. But
that's why he shook him. He thought he was dead.
Yeah. But it was shaking the microwave and popping. There was a popping and clicking happening inside the microwave, and things were rattling. And I looked down and saw the room, and I was like a little ping pong ball. I could see in all directions at once. But it wasn't normal vision. It was just like when you rub your eyes, you see those colors. That's what the room looked like. You could see through things. You could look at atoms. Time slowed down. You could do a lot in a very small period of time. It was weird. I became aware of like fucking different dimensions, higher and lower dimensions, with stuff in them, kind of like life forms. Yeah. That's why, Jen, she's seen some of this shit too, over the years living with me. But mostly little stuff, like things fucking being thrown, from nowhere.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That kind of stuff. But she doesn't really believe in an afterlife or anything. I do. Yeah, I've seen it. Now, you don't take your memories, you're recycled. I saw how all that happened. There's this universal cosmic consciousness. If you go into it, your consciousness just kind of blends into a bunch of sea of consciousness. You become one with everything. You kind of lose your identity.
Individuality, yeah.
Your individuality.
Which, like I said, that sounds kind of nice, but then on the other hand, I think most people that want to believe in an afterlife or want to believe in spirits and stuff would rather that the personality remained of that person that they loved. You know what I mean?
No,
so it's like if you just get sucked back into the collective, then that's kind of not.
No, when I was out, I wasn't quite the same person I was when I was in.
Right.
You're a lot more simplistic. You're a lot more simple. You're in the here and now. You're not real emotionally connected to your past self. That's just like a character you were playing. There's more to you than that. But in a way, you're also kind of simple. You know you've lived many times, and you're outside space-time also. You know what I mean? Your time is meaningless. Past, present, and future is meaningless. That's why there's a time distortion happening. It's weird. But it doesn't seem weird at the time. It seems obvious. You're like, oh, of course, when you see it.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah, it all makes sense, yeah. It's weird. And then, what else can I tell you about it? Before you go into that cosmic consciousness, people are going to be waiting for you. People that you know. But I don't know who they were. They knew who I was. I remember recognizing them. And another one talked to me. It was a bigger one, more powerful one. I don't know if that was my daemon or my super self, or maybe these might have been other incarnations of me that I was talking to. I don't know. Everything looked like it was made out of the material that welding arcs are made out of. It was 3D, but it would just kind of morph into existence. A face would appear, and you could hear the voice, but not with your ears. You could hear it with like your soul. You could hear what they were saying, and it wasn't really in English. It was just whatever. You just understood it, you know. And then I could see in the center of the universe and creation and all the dimensions, just this round ball. It just seemed like singing. It was just pure energy. And I knew that if I went in there, I'd never come back out, not as I am. Now, I think you might come out, but you're kind of like recycled when you come out of there. Because there doesn't ever seem to be an end. It's just part of it. Maybe that's what the Jedi are talking about when somebody returns from the netherworld of the Force, where you fucking survive death. But I knew that if you went in there, I would not be able to come back to the material world and re-inhabit the body. They said, you're not dying. No, it's not time for you to die. You got to go back. I was like, yeah? Oh, come on. I don't want to go back. No, you got to go back. I said, fuck. Because I felt like I was home.
Wouldn't it be weird if one day you met a person in real life that you recognized as one of those people that you saw in your near-death experience?
Only one I kind of remember that looked like the one was that one goth chick that we knew. Fucking little, what's her name?
Olivia?
Olivia. There was one of them that kind of looked like Olivia. But the thing is that is that when I saw the face of that thing, and it was just like I said, it looked like a statue made out of welding arc on a background of welding arc. I could tell that it wasn't human. That was the weird thing about it. That might have been Neanderthal. But it was still pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it had like a cloak and a hood. And it looked like a priestess and braided hair and stuff.
That's probably why you thought of Olivia, because she looks like a little fairy.
Yeah, she looked like a little fairy.
Or an elf or something.
Yeah, like a little fairy, and kind of, you know, kind of like all races blended in together, and with, you know, just hominid, you know, that's what she looked like. And I kind of was under the impression that I kind of was under the understanding that she was from a long time ago, from my point of view. So she might have been something from like 60 or 70,000 years ago. You know, and for all I know, it might have been me.
Like in another incarnation.
One of my incarnations, yeah.
Sure. Victor says, I bought The Unseen Hand on Audible. I used to listen to it when I drive around as a home health nurse.
You enjoy it?
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had fun writing that, actually.
Yeah. Steve Mera, who's a parapsychologist I know, said that that's the best collection of poltergeist books.
Well, I tried to find like as many things as I could find. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to track down a lot of those.
Yeah, he read that, and that's in his library.
You have to go through like old newspapers and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so let me see. Somebody's like, can someone explain why a spirit would tug on the back of my shirt? This happened in Texas a few years ago at a Victorian mansion turned museum. That's pretty common. A lot of people say it's probably like little kid ghosts or something like that, like they would do to their mom. You know, I don't know.
It might just be a random phenomenon that it does over and over again.
Yeah. Fandom says there's another good haunted pub in England. Aren't they all haunted, aren't they? That inspired Sweeney Todd. It used to be a hotel, and the owners had a room with a trapdoor where they'd put wealthy people in. Yeah. I've heard about that, actually. That might be a good one, too. Like, I kind of felt like... I thought all pubs in the UK were haunted.
Yeah.
Aren't they? I mean, they probably all... They're all, like, hundreds and hundreds of years old. But, yeah, so like I said... All of the manifestations here, like, some of them she perceived as positive. Like, the lights that her and Nicole saw, she perceived those as, like, protective. It's like, these are protective spirits or a protective spirit that's looking out for us or watching over us or something like that. Not all the shit was like that, though. Some of it was kind of scary. Some of the other kind of more poltergeisty type activity, they said one thing that would happen a lot... Just like in the movie reviewed on Monday, like the bathroom taps and the kitchen taps would come on by themselves all the time.
Real common.
Yeah, the TV, the volume would go all the way up.
Yeah.
The CD player would come on, like start playing music, like just electronics, like the tea kettle would come on by itself. They did have, much like Amityville, they kind of had a infestation of flies and then also one of maggots.
Yeah.
So there was that.
I had that happen once. I found like 5 maggots in the center of a fucking carpet, all fucking running away from each other. That was in Boston, in that bad house. But I couldn't prove it.
Ooh, I wonder where they came from.
I don't know.
So I was just thinking
looked down and had a big throw rug, big oriental throw rug carpet in the center of the room. And a dude from Sweden that I know, goth dude from Sweden named Jimmy. He goes, look! And fucking, he knew weird shit was happening in that house too. And I saw like 5 maggots right next to each other, like a quarter, all in the space of a quarter, like an inch and a half, all crawling away from each other. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger as I saw it. There's like 5 of them. I go, where'd that come from? And he's like, I don't know. You know, we were looking up. And I know he didn't have a handful of maggots and drop them.
Yeah, why would you do that? That'd be weird.
But that's what it looked like happened. It looked like somebody took a handful of maggots and dropped them.
It wasn't like in Suspiria where they were all coming out of the ceiling.
No,
because of the rotten
they were
food
already there on the floor, crawling away from one another when we saw it.
That's weird.
Yeah, and I don't know where they came from.
Maybe that's
I checked the carpet, and checked the garbage, and the garbage didn't have maggots in it.
Cause see,
and it was far away. The garbage can.
I kind of feel like the flies thing. Yeah. See, I don't know if that was a common paranormal thing before the Amityville horror, or if the Amityville horror made that popular. Yeah. I kind of feel like a few of the cases that I wrote about that happened before Amityville had that aspect too. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was just something that Amityville like picked up on.
Yeah.
Like with all the flies coming in there.
Yeah.
But maggots, I don't hear about as much.
Yeah, we had that happen once. That's weird that was brought up.
Yeah, I don't think you ever mentioned that.
No, that was
before.
in Boston though.
Yeah.
So it was a different episode. It wasn't Mammoth Mountain.
Yeah, that was at that house that you said at that house in Boston. You said you never saw anything or heard anything in there, but it just felt bad.
Felt bad, yeah.
And everybody had nightmares.
Yeah, everybody else thought it felt bad in there.
Like everyone was really creeped out by it for some reason, but nobody ever saw or heard anything unusual. It was just like a bad feeling.
No, now the maggots thing.
But like I said, I don't remember you ever telling me that. But who knows
what? You know what I mean? That still doesn't really 100% convince me. It was just.
Yeah, I mean there could be like
there might have been some
an
explanation
for that. They could have come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe they were on somebody's clothes or.
I don't know how that could have been.
No,
who carries maggots around on them?
I don't know.
Don't know where they came from. They didn't come from the garbage.
Maybe a zombie walked through.
It was just they just appeared.
That is pretty weird.
Yeah.
But like a similar thing happened in this situation. They had a maggot thing and they had a fly thing, which I think were 2 separate incidents.
Yeah, there was like only 5 or 6 of them. Wasn't like an impressive amount, like in the movies. Right. You know.
Yeah, like I said, like in Suspiria, where they all start falling out of the ceiling and into everybody's hair and shit, getting in their brush.
And it was fly larvae, definitely.
Yeah.
Wasn't mealworms or anything.
Fucking gross.
Jimmy was like, maybe they hatched there. And I was like, I don't think they're that big when they hatch.
No, they can't be.
Yeah. And I didn't
They're
see
not
any,
like maggots.
I didn't even see any pupa cases or anything.
Right. I don't know, man. I can't explain it.
Weird.
Maybe it was on the underside of the rug, or maybe...
We had just walked over that area.
Okay.
And then we were coming back, and he saw him. It was weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
But he had been with me. So there's no way he could have...
Yeah.
No. He couldn't... And he wouldn't have had the motive.
Yeah. That is a kind of a weird thing.
It was weird, yeah.
CB said my mom was eating a strawberry and looked down and saw maggots come out.
Oh, man.
I can't imagine what that would be like. I might have told this story before, but my brother Eric was working on a house.
Probably weren't fly larvae.
No, probably not. But
just another kind of worm.
Just worms. But still, that's still gross. It's not like that makes it any better. But he was working on a house, and he put a can of Coke or something like that. Like, he was drinking a can of Coke, and he put it down for a little while and then went and did something.
Not in Florida.
And then he came back and drank some of it, and it was full of cockroaches.
Cockroaches rounded in there. They can't get back out.
And I was like, I don't think I would ever get over that. I still freak out. And it didn't happen to me. It happened to him. But it's like since he told me that story, it's just like I just can't get that fucking out of my head. What would I do?
People don't realize
I would just still be gagging now.
And American cockroaches have a fucking tremendous sense of smell. They can smell evidently a teaspoon of sugar from like several hundred feet away. So if you open a soda, especially summertime here, something's going to get in there. It's going to be quick.
And I mean, he was working on a house, so a lot of it was open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to the outside.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was
You're supposed to just open that Coca-Cola and fucking drink it all.
And then throw it away.
Throw that shit away, yeah.
Well, my grandfather used to do, he used to have, roach traps that he would make like a bowl-shaped wine glass like that. And he would put wine or Coke in it in the bottom, and then he'd put Vaseline around the inside rim. So the roaches would go in there, and then they couldn't get back out because it was too slippery. And then you'd come back in, and there'd be a wine glass full of roaches. It was pretty fucking gross. Mm-hmm. My grandpa used to do that in his old ass house that was full of roaches and spiders and rats because it was old.
Yeah.
But Florida, y'all, we have critters everywhere. So like I said, a lot of electrical kind of anomalies. There was one in particular, and it was always cold in there too. She's even in the summertime, bitter cold in there. And she said one time she went downstairs, to start the fire up or whatever, and she's like, and every single electronic device was on. You know what I mean? Like the TV, the CD player, the kettle, everything was on. And all the lights were on and everything, and obviously she had turned them all off. And she said this was the first time that she heard. Remember how I said earlier that people hear growling in there? That's a pretty common thing that a lot of people report. She said that was the first time that she heard that. She said it sounded like an animal growling, right by her ear.
Yeah.
But obviously there was nothing there. And she said that was up to then. It's some of the stuff was kind of unsettling and shit. But she's the first time she heard that growl, she said that was the first time she was actually really scared, because that sounded really bad, whatever the fuck that was. She said up until then it had been just kind of creepy, but not that upsetting. Yeah. But she's for some reason that really unsettled her a lot. And after she left and other investigators came in there, a lot of them reported hearing that as well. And then it kind of seemed to, as the year went on, it seemed like the manifestations got worse. Stuff started moving around, stuff would go missing and turn up in other places, which you said that happened a lot in your thing too. Yeah. And remember how I said they'd left the chains from the prison on the walls, and they would swing around by themselves. There was the prison part is the bottom, and then there's a little kitchen, and then there's a door that leads to the staircase that leads up to the bedrooms and stuff. And she said that door used to just open and shut, slam shut all the time. It did that all the time. Just shit would fly around, knives and forks and stuff like that. She said she saw some objects levitating also. That kind of stuff, just little shit around the kitchen and whatnot.
Sounds like poltergeist, but she's not quite the right age.
Yeah, I mean, she was kind of a little bit older.
If she had some kids with her, maybe might lend more credence to the poltergeist phenomenon.
She didn't. Then later on, her and Nicole, it was October, and they decided they were going to have a Halloween party, which, you know, that's kind of a big thing in 2000, because I kind of feel like they celebrate Halloween in the UK, but I don't think it's as big a deal as it is here. Maybe it is now, but I don't think it was back in 2004. But she said she was getting ready for the party, and she heard footsteps, like, in the hallway outside her bedroom, and then she thought, like really loud footsteps, like somebody was pissed off.
Right.
And she thought it was Nicole, but then Nicole came from the opposite direction. You know what I mean? And so she was freaking out. And then, like, they both heard the front door of the house slam shut. She said so hard that the whole house rattled. But then when they went downstairs, like, all the doors were shut and locked. So they couldn't figure out who the fuck that was. And then, like, later on that same night, Vanessa is in the bathroom, and she's, like, putting on makeup or something like that, like, in the mirror. And she sees that shadow man again, like, over her right shoulder, like, in the reflection. And she said that he felt really cold, and she couldn't, like, get out of the bathroom because he was, like, right there, like, right behind her. So if she turned around, like, she would touch him, like, she felt like. And she's like, she stood there for a long time, like, not really knowing what to do, but then, like, it kind of just faded away. But she said even after he faded, she could still tell that it was there, you know? Like I said, she saw this shadow man, like, quite a lot. And also people reported seeing, like, the door slamming, the footsteps, all that kind of stuff was, you know, a lot of people heard that, like, all the time. But some people also heard kids laughing and running around, shit like that. And then they also would hear women crying. That was another one that a lot of people reported, like, because they had friends come over and shit like that.
Phantom, he recommended a free movie that has Beau Bridges in it again. It's another haunting movie. You need to write that down. We'll see it again.
Oh, okay, wait. Another pretty good made-for-TV Showtime original film, 2002.
Yeah. Sightings,
Heartland Ghost. I've actually heard of that one, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Sightings, Heartland.
Oh, based on the Sally House haunting.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I saw there was a haunting episode about that, and I think there was a Paranormal Witness about that. I think we did a show about it, too.
He says it's kind of like a haunting episode, but it's got nudity.
Okay.
Made for TV and it's got nudity?
All right.
Damn. TV's fucking rocking now.
Well, this is 2002.
2002. They're trying to get people to see TV.
Please watch TV. Here's some boobies. But, yeah, the Sally House is, like, pretty famous. I know we've seen a haunting about that, and I think they did a Paranormal Witness about it, too. I wasn't aware that they'd made a fictional movie about it, but that does not surprise me. But, yeah. So, like I said, house was always cold, and at this point, it's coming up to the holidays, and Vanessa's getting kind of bummed out. She's like, you know, this place is, you know, the activity is getting worse and worse. You know, shit's flying around everywhere. It's just this oppressive kind of feeling. She's like, you know, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, you know, why did I buy this place? But, you know, it's coming up to Christmas, so she's just kind of like, we're just going to try and make the best of it. You know what I mean? But then she said right around this time, and again, this was another one that wasn't super negative. She said she was sitting in the living room, I think, and she sees what looks like a kind of dark mist or something, and it's kind of like coalescing into a person. But this wasn't the scary shadow man that she saw before, like that she saw in the kitchen and that she saw in the bathroom mirror. She's like, this guy, when he kind of coalesced, it looked like a person, you know what I mean? So she's like, this guy seemed kind of like even more evil though than like the Shadow Man did. And she said he did the same thing as the Shadow Man though, where he just like kind of turned around and like walked out the room. And she thought more than the Shadow Man even that this entity, whatever this was maybe gonna do something bad to her. Like, and this really upset her a lot. And this happened, like I said, like right around Christmas time. Now, around this time period, she had a friend named Jackie. And Jackie had a boyfriend, and they came to stay at the house for a little while, like around the Christmas holidays. And Jackie, you know, she's there one day, and she's going to go upstairs to go to the bathroom. And Vanessa said that she saw Jackie kind of pause at the bottom of the stairs and like look up the stairs and then like look at her and then kind of like hesitate, but then kind of walk up the stairs like really slowly. And she said at the time, Jackie didn't tell her, she didn't see anything. Vanessa didn't see anything at this time. But she's like, Jackie didn't tell her what she saw until later on. Because she was like, you know, it was Christmas, I don't want to upset you and all this other kind of stuff. But she's like, what I saw was, I was going up to the bathroom and at the top of the stairs, I saw a dude. It just looked like, she knew it was not real. Like, she knew it was a ghost. But she said it just looked like a man. Like, it didn't look like a shadow figure or anything like that. She said it looked like a dude in old clothes, and he was dirty. Like, you know, he was obviously not from this era. And he had, like, dark hair, like, in a ponytail. And she said she saw him standing at the top of the stairs, and he was, like, looking at her. And she knew that it was a ghost, and she didn't really want to go up the stairs, but she walked up the stairs and then, like, walked through him. Like, he kind of backed off of her as she walked up the stairs.
Yeah.
And so then she just, like, walked through him, and then he just kind of faded. But Jackie didn't tell her this until, like, later on. Because, like I said, she didn't really want to upset her. But this was the first time that somebody...
She had the balls to walk through a ghost.
Yeah. I'm just like, that's what
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, that would be a little weird.
I don't know if I buy this story.
Because maybe the ghost would be like...
I'd be like... nah, you're good, bro. I'll go around, you know.
I'll go around.
I'm gonna go around.
I'm sure the ghost doesn't mind. It might feel weird walking through a ghost. I'm not really sure.
I'd be scared what would happen when you touched it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because if ghosts exist, which I'm not sure they do.
What if it shocks you? What if it possesses you? What,
yeah, it's like, what are the parameters?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really know the rules.
Yeah, I don't know the rules, right.
So it's just kind of, so like you said, it is kind of...
What if you catch ghost cooties?
Exactly.
You don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know.
What if you get all covered with slime like Ghostbusters? Because that's what happens there. You get covered in ectoplasm. But, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this was Vanessa's friend saying that she saw this. I don't think Vanessa saw this person, but Jackie told her later that that's what she had seen. She had seen this dude, like, standing at the top. But I think somebody else saw this same apparition, like, later on. But, yeah, it is pretty ballsy, like, fucking walking through a ghost. Thank you very much for the super chat, Victor.
Big spender, Victor. What's up, brother?
What if a ghost pegged you?
But, Victor, let me tell you something, man.
I wrote a story like that once. Like, a ghost didn't peg somebody, but a ghost did rape
Victor,
somebody.
I saw a video the other day. If you contact me, I'll send it to copy to you. I forgot the name of the channel. It was on YouTube. About a sexual psychologist was a guest on this show that I sometimes watch. He was a gay dude. But the name of the show is that Straight Men Having Gay Sex. It was fucking wild, man. It was wild. You got to see it.
He keeps trying to get me to... Like, he sent me the link, but I haven't had time to watch it yet. But he told me about it. So he told me what was in there.
Once I knew what they were talking about, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. It doesn't sound fucking crazy. How's a straight dude going to have gay sex?
Well, you know they got to title everything to make it, salacious so somebody clicks on it.
Yeah.
They're like, just
Yeah.
calm down. It's not that exciting. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, it was interesting, like what you were saying.
Yeah, he talked about all kinds of sexual psychology, and fucking, you know, confirmed a lot of shit that I know from like gay friends and shit. What they've told me over the years, you know, straight people have a lot of stereotypes about gay people that don't hold up to scrutiny sometimes, and he talks about all that. And fucking, you know, my friend Toby, you know, he's a leather daddy. He's fucking gay. But when he's drunk, he likes girls. He loves Jen when he's drunk. And he talks about that gay dudes will have sex with women too. But that's not their main thing. You take them to the beach, they're just seeing dudes. They're not seeing women. But some women stand out to them, you know. But just funny stuff that he was talking about. That a lot of gay guys have internalized homophobia, and then straight dudes that have had homosexual experience, especially like when they were young, they just blow it off like it's nothing. They don't have any internal. They don't take it seriously. Gay dudes take it seriously though. Fucking weird. It's a great show. I learned a lot from it.
I kind of feel like ghost pegging is probably a whole subgenre of paranormal erotica.
Well, he was going on about what dudes are thinking when this shit's going on. Like he's giving examples. Like out of porn. Pegging's there too.
Well, yeah.
You know, they're saying, well, he's not gay. This dude just wants to get fucked. his wife won't do it for him, so he'll get a dude to do it. But he's not into the dude. He's just into the fact of getting
He's just
fucked.
into the idea.
Yeah. It's just you're. What was he said? He said your sexual identity doesn't always line up with what you're eroticizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people worry about it too much.
Yeah, like these dudes he'll bring a dude over to fuck his wife, to cuck him out, and she's telling him how worthless he is, and he's just, like that. And then afterwards, he fucking got to clean the dude off and shit. And he's only turned on by it because he doesn't want to do it. So he's getting turned on not by fucking blowing his dude, but he's getting turned on the fact that he is so submissive that he's done it. Which, that's what he's getting off on. That he was doing something he didn't want to do.
I kind of feel like that's a pretty common.
That's a wild ass submission.
Sexual fantasy.
I don't think it's that common.
Being forced into
being forced to do things that you don't really want to do.
Just generally being forced into doing something you don't want to do. Like people wouldn't want to do that in real life, but like in a safe environment. Yeah. Like I think that's pretty common.
Weird shit.
Yeah, CB said yes. Straight guys like it when guys come on to them at the fetish bar. Oh, I believe it. Phantom says Spectre Golden Ectoplasm Shower. Victor says bro jobs aren't gay. You just have to say no homo first, and it's all good.
Yeah. He talks about bro job.
Yeah.
He talks about bro job.
Bro jobs.
He's explaining why it happened. You know, dudes going to prison and they're not gay for pay; they're just gay for the stay. Just fucking weird shit like that. You know,
Any port in a storm. You know,
it's funny. It's a funny show.
Yeah,
but it makes sense.
Zach asked him what it was. It was what was the name of the channel? Do you know?
Man, I can't remember.
But
Want me to find it now?
No, you don't have to.
No, you can do the show. I'll find it.
TB said,
I'll find it because I sent a copy to fucking Soph.
Yeah, so you sent me a copy too.
Yeah.
CB said, Tom, I ain't going to turn down a BJ. I ain't nuts. They don't happen every day.
So, yeah.
I mean, you know, like I said.
Dude said that these guys are going after the trannies not because they want to suck dick. They want to suck a woman's dick.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's some mental gymnastics there, but okay.
But like I said, it's people worry about it too much.
Yeah.
People always try to put people in boxes and stuff. It's just kind of like, do whatever. Like I said, as long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't really care what people do.
Okay, here it is. The name of the video on YouTube is... Hold on. Let me see, make sure. I don't want to give out bad. The name of the video is Straight Men Are Having Gay Sex. The channel is called Offbeat. One word, Offbeat.
Okay.
It's a British show. But the psychologist is an American guy. And fucking the psychologist, he's gay. He says he's not into penetration. He doesn't want to be penetrated. Doesn't like that. Everything to him is just external. And he said a lot of gay guys are like that. And I've known gay guys that are like that. I thought they were bullshitting me though. I was like, come on. It's like, no. I was like, okay. I was thinking he just doesn't want to admit to it. He just doesn't want to admit that he's going anal. But no, they got gay guys that don't do any anal shit.
Yeah. Like I said,
I never would have thought that because that's just like I said, it's one of the stereotypes.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem with stereotypes.
Yeah, it's one of the stereotypes.
Everybody's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If people say they like a certain thing or they don't like a certain thing, I'm willing to like just believe them and not worry about it. I'm not going to try to impose my own shit on them.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Right. We got to get back to the show though.
Well, yeah.
The show was called Offbeat Straight Men Are Having Gay Sex.
You're the one that went off
and
on
it sounds crazy. The title sounds crazy, but when he tells a story and describe, then you go, oh, okay, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, when you were telling me about it, it's like, well, it sounded pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not. It's not what it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they need to have like some clickbaity title. You know what I mean? So how did we get distracted? Oh, somebody walking through a ghost.
Yeah, walking through a ghost.
That's what got us off track. Well, because we have so many questions about people walking through a ghost, and like I said, if this woman did actually walk through a ghost, that's pretty badass. Because I don't know, man. If I saw a ghost, would I walk through it or not? I don't know. It's hard to say.
I wouldn't. I'd be scared to go up to that thing. It's a fucking ghost.
Depending on what it looked like.
Yeah. Shit's a fucking ghost, man.
I don't know how I would react, honestly. I thought I would be scared if I saw poltergeist shit, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just like, huh, okay. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. This same woman, Jackie, the friend, she also said that she was at the house, because they were at the house for a little while. I guess they were like staying there for over the holidays. And she was out in the yard, like smoking. And she saw like a ghostly funeral procession. Because remember how I said they used to carry that's why they call it Coffin Alley. They used to carry like all the bodies like both to the graveyard, like through this alley that's behind the house. And she said that she saw that, and she said that it actually like kind of walked through a wall that wasn't there at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she saw them like walking through the thing. So later on, like after they left, because they were just there like temporarily. Now the roommate, Nicole, she had a boyfriend whose name was Jim, and he moved in for a little while. And he was like a skeptic when he first moved in, but he started experiencing shit like pretty much immediately too. So he started hearing footsteps. He said, I don't remember if he saw any like apparitions or anything, but he heard footsteps, saw stuff moving around, all that other kind of stuff. And it got so bad that, you know, the three of them were living there, and they didn't really want to leave anyone alone in the house ever. You know what I mean? Because like shit was happening like all the time. But Jim did report that he was upstairs, and he was, I don't know if he was in the house alone or if there was like, or if everybody else was downstairs or something, but he heard footsteps in the house coming up the stairs, like towards him. And so the door was closed, like he was in a bedroom with the door closed. And then the door latch or the knob or whatever like started rattling. They said that was something that would happen a lot too, like the door latch would rattle like someone was trying to get in. And then it would just like speed up like and get louder and louder. Like they're like that happened a lot, and he saw that too. And then he's like, after that, it did that for a little while, and then like the latch like lifted, and then the door opened like by itself, but nobody was there. And after Jim saw that, he was basically like, fuck this place. Because at this point, his girlfriend, Nicole, who, you know, was the roommate, she was pregnant. And he's like, I don't want our kid growing up in this shit show. So he's like, we need to get the fuck out of here. So Jim and Nicole moved out. So Vanessa was left in the house by herself. They kind of felt bad about leaving her there, but they're like, look, we can't raise a baby in this environment, which, you know, you can't blame them. And she kind of understood. And like I said, I think Vanessa was kind of a little more circumspect about it just because she was used to paranormal stuff happening, I guess. So she was just like, nah, I'll deal with it or whatever. But after Nicole and Jim left, it seemed like shit just got worse and worse, and she was starting to get really, I don't know, like isolated, and it seemed like it was just bothering her like more and more. But she did still have like she did see an apparition of like a young man. She's like, there was just the top half of him, like he didn't have any legs, but he looked like just a regular person other than not having any legs. But he seemed like a nice ghost. And she also saw a ghost of like a woman who came into the room and like started like kind of sprinkling herbs around and stuff. And she thought maybe that was Ursula, you know, the woman that got hanged for being a witch. Like she thought maybe that was her. And she's like, and that apparition seemed very friendly. Like it even smiled at her and like, hey, you're all right. You know what I mean? Or like, I'm helping you or whatever. So she did see like nice stuff, but like most of the stuff was kind of scary. You know what I mean? And they think too that, you know, that Ursula's 8-year-old kid, Tom, the one that testified against her at the trial, but like, you know, you can't blame him. They probably tortured him, like I said. But they think maybe, I don't know if anyone's ever seen an apparition of a little boy. A lot of people have seen an apparition of a little girl. I'm not entirely sure who that is, except for maybe the skull that they found in the early 1900s. But people have heard a little boy's voice, like calling for his mom, and people have heard, like, they've caught EVPs of, like, somebody saying the name Tom, like, in the house. So they think maybe his spirit is there, too, maybe.
Oscar Perez is here. What's up, Oscar?
Hey, what's up, Oscar?
Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. So, at this stage, because Vanessa is now living in the house by herself, she decides to have a priest come to bless the house. This is never a good move. If you've ever seen any paranormal shows at all, you always know that this is not the thing you want to do because it always makes it worse. And indeed, it did in this situation also. She has the priest come, or the vicar, or whatever the fuck. And he comes there and does the blessing. He actually saw some minor poltergeist activity. He did see, like, the taps come on by themselves and things like that. Vanessa asked him, the one nice ghost she had seen, the dude that was just, like, the upper half, she felt bad for him, and she said that she wanted the priest to tell him to, like, go into the light or whatever. And so the priest actually did that, like, because she asked him to. However, what seems to have happened, at least according to Vanessa, was that after the priest did his thing, it seemed like all the nice ghost action, it was gone, and then, like, only the shitty ghost action remained. You know what I mean? So it could be that the priest was like, hey, all good ghosts, like, go into the light, and all the asshole ghosts decided to, well, we're just staying right here, and we're just gonna keep fucking tormenting you. So that seems like what happened, perhaps. Because she said she didn't see the friendly ghosts anymore after that.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, like, all scary shit after the priest left. Like I said, you see the paranormal shows, don't call a priest. They always make it worse. Every single time. It's like a trope at this point. So, not too long after the priest fucked everything up, Vanessa, who had kind of been dating a dude on and off, found out that she was also pregnant. Now, she was no longer with the baby daddy, and they had a pretty acrimonious breakup. So now she's, like, kind of doubly screwed, because now she's, like, in this haunted-ass house, all the good ghosts are gone, and now she's by herself and pregnant, in this, like I said, not great environment. And it had also started to get out. Like I said, I kind of feel like this is a fairly small village, right? St. Osyth, and they kind of knew the house was haunted, but once she had been living there for a while, her neighbors and shit like that would keep saying stuff like, they'd stop her, like she'd go down to the shops or something. They're like, why do you have that mannequin sitting in the window? She's like, bitch, I don't have a mannequin. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So people were walking by and, like, seeing somebody sitting in the window. Like, a lot of people asked her about that. And so that was kind of freaking her out because she didn't obviously she didn't put anybody in the window, you know? So there was another friend that she had whose name was Mike, and he would come over to the house sometimes and like do some, you know, just maintenance kind of shit, like around the house and whatnot. And whoever the entities were in this house, they really did not like Mike for whatever reason. Because he had some pretty violent shit happen. Like, he was on a ladder, like, or on top of the stairs or something, and he was like changing a light bulb, and something like pushed him down the stairs, like pretty savagely. He thankfully was not hurt. I guess he knew how to fall, but yeah. And he also was changing bulbs outside once, and the bulb exploded and got like glass all in him and stuff. So, you know, so there was that. I don't know why they didn't like him as much. And then there was another guy that was a relative of hers, whose name was also Toby. I think it was her cousin. And he would also come over and do like some handyman type stuff. And she was putting a new bathroom into the house, like kitting the bathroom out. And he came over, and she was like, I'm just going to pop down to my mom's house for a minute, like while you're working on that. And she was down at her mom's house, like a block or two away. And she's like, and Toby comes running down and like bangs on the door and just like, I'm not being in that house by myself. You know what I mean? He said that he was in there working, and he heard voices coming from like everywhere. And he also heard footsteps like walking up the stairs toward the bathroom, and he looked and nobody was there. But he just heard all these people talking, and there was nobody in there, and it freaked him out. And then there was, you know how she would see the shadow man sometimes, like in the mirror, like in the bathroom?
Yeah.
She was in the bathroom one time, and she didn't see the shadow man at this point, but something like smacked her really hard, like on the butt. Like whack, like really hard.
Yeah.
Like so much that she like fucking screamed in pain, you know what I mean? And so that like freaked her out pretty bad. And then I think that was the first time too that it had physically kind of assaulted her, and she sort of realized, because, you know, Mike had been there and he'd been kind of shoved down the stairs, and she said then, like not too long after that, the same thing happened to her. Like, she was on the top of the stairs and she felt like two hands on her back, like pushing her, and she was kind of able to kind of go off to the side, so she didn't fall down the stairs. She just kind of fell into the hallway or like the room or whatever. So that was kind of the same area too where that dude hung himself also, I think, like right there at the top of the stairs. So she didn't get hurt, but she was just kind of like, at that point, she was like pretty pregnant at that point. She's just like, man, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, this thing could actually hurt me, and it could actually like hurt the baby, you know what I mean? So she was like starting to think, I got to get the fuck out of here. So she actually had the baby in 2007, like late 2007. So she had a son, his name was Jesse, and she was like, she's like, having the kid made me realize how fucking stressful living in this house was. Like, when it was just her, it was easy to just kind of blow it off, you know what I mean? But now that she has a baby, and she's all by herself with this baby, and this thing has started to like physically attack her sometimes, she's like, this could hurt the baby. So it's like, this is getting to be like a bad situation. And she was just really didn't know what to do. I mean, she basically, all of her money, as you know, happens on a lot of haunting episodes too, all of her money is invested in this house, right? So it's like, you can't just pick up and move.
That's the way life is.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of like, and it's shitty that it's, you kind of get into these situations and then you can't really get out of them, you know what I mean? So she's like, until she could formulate a plan, like, to get out of here, she's like, okay, well, I have to like cart this kid around with me everywhere. I can't leave him in the house by himself, you know? So everywhere she went in the house, like, she had to take him with her. And at some point she wouldn't go into the downstairs of the house anymore, because it seemed like a lot of the activity was centered around the downstairs, but mainly around the kitchen. It seemed like a lot of stuff happened in the kitchen. So she would try to stay upstairs as much as possible. But she said she did notice that the baby seemed to be seeing things that she couldn't see. You know what I mean? And that was kind of freaking her out. So what happened one night, and this was kind of one of the things that sort of led her to just be like, fuck the money, I'm gonna get out of here. But she had actually dropped her son off at a babysitter. Like, she was working or doing something. And she's like, obviously no one will come and babysit the kid at her house because everybody knows it's fucking haunted, right? So it's like, so she has to take the baby to the babysitter's house. So she said she picked up the baby and she went home, and it was like really, really cold that night, and it was snowing and everything. And she said she just felt like this overwhelming feeling of like not wanting to go in this house like ever again. You know what I mean? And she's like looking all around, making sure, like, is there anybody in here? Like, is something going on? I don't really know, but she really didn't want to go in. So finally, you know, she's like, I don't have anywhere else to go. So she takes the baby and she just like runs through the house and just like runs up the stairs and into the bedroom. You know what I mean? And she puts the kid to bed. And then she realizes that she has to work in the morning and she doesn't have any clothes like ironed or anything like that. And all the ironing shit is downstairs, like in the dungeon area. So she's like, fuck. So I have to go down there and do that. So she wouldn't normally do this, but she was just trying to like, you know, facilitate, you know, she's just trying to be quick, right? So she's like, okay, well, I'm just going to run downstairs for just a minute and get the ironing board and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm going to leave the kid up here because it's cold. And, you know, he was all bundled up in his blankets and stuff like that. And she didn't want to wake him up and like bring him downstairs where it was cold. So she said, I'm just going to leave him in his little bed or whatever. And so she goes down to get the iron and everything. And while she's down there, she starts hearing this really weird noise. And the noise was Jesse's toy trains. Like, he had these little trains that were like electronic, you know what I mean? And he had played with them like a couple weeks before, like downstairs, but they just kind of left them down there, like they hadn't put them away or anything. So they were still like down on the floor. And she heard them, and then she looked down and they were like moving around like by themselves, you know what I mean? Like on the floor. And so yeah. And she's like, okay, this is not good. So she takes all her shit and just runs back up to the room where her kid is. And while she's going up, she opens the door to the stairs that go, you know, up to the bedrooms. And she sees another apparition. But this was a different guy. Like, she had never seen this person before. She's like, he wasn't like the dirty, old-fashioned clothes ghost with the ponytail. And it wasn't the shadow man, and it wasn't the half dude that was nice. She's like, this guy almost kind of looked like a modern dude. Like, he had, like, modern-looking clothing on. And he looked real sinister. And he was, like, looking into the room, like, where her baby was. So she was, like, freaking out. And, like, she didn't know what to do. But she's, you know, her mama bear instincts kicked in, I guess. Because she, much like her friend Jackie had done, she's like, fuck this motherfucker. And she just ran up there and ran through him. You know what I mean? Because it was her baby. She was trying to get to the baby, and the ghost was in the way. You know what I mean? So she grabs the baby, and they just kind of get under the covers, like, you know, just like a kid would. And they just, like, crawl under the covers and just, like, sit there and hope nothing happens.
That beef's still looking beautiful. It's going to be good done in about 20 minutes, but we can eat it after the show.
Okay. Thankfully, they're under the blankets, and I guess all that adage about hiding under the blankets and the monster's not getting you is true because nothing happened. So they just kind of fell asleep, her and the baby, like, underneath this blanket. However, a couple of hours later, a weird noise woke her up. And the noise that had woken her up was, again, the latch on the bedroom door just rattling. And it just kind of, like, sped up. And it did that for, like, a really long time, and then it just stopped, like, all of a sudden. And this incident, because it was this ghost she'd never seen before, it looked like it was directly threatening her baby. She's like, that's it. I have to get out of here. So a couple days after that, like I said, she couldn't afford to move, but she had a friend named Carrie, who lived not too far away, and she said, you can stay here. You and the baby can stay here as long as you need to, and then you can figure out what you're going to do with the house later on. So this actually happened. So this was spring of 2008. So she actually only lived here for about 4 years, which is about average. Like, people would stay there about 3 or 4 years, and then they'd be like, fuck this place, and then they'd get out. Yeah. So basically, her and all her friends, you know, Nicole, Mike, all of them, they all came and helped her pack up all her stuff. And while they were packing, Mike actually heard, or he was outside, and then like all three of the Nicole and the other two, they actually heard all this crashing coming from upstairs, like in the house, and then heard footsteps like stomping around, like on the second floor, and then footsteps coming down the stairs, but obviously nobody was there. You know, and they look around the house, no one's there, obviously. But Mike said that while he was outside, he had actually seen the guy with the old-fashioned clothes and the dirty ponytail, had seen him in the window, like upstairs, like staring down at him, like while he was outside, while all that crashing was going on upstairs. So they pack up the car. Like I said, it was very Amityville. They just like pack all the shit in the car and they're like, we're getting the fuck out of here. And then Vanessa said that she looked, while they were driving off, she actually looked and she saw the shadow figure, the same one she had seen the first day, like in the kitchen. She saw it in the window, like while she was leaving. So she moved in with her friend. And she still owns the house, obviously. And, you know, because you own a house, you still have to like pay the mortgage on it. And so she didn't have a lot of money, so she wasn't really sure what she was going to do. Now, she had a friend, another friend, whose name was Sharon. And Sharon said, oh, well, if you're not going to live there, like, I'll rent it from you. And Vanessa's like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. Like, I need the money and everything. But she's like, it's a shit show. Like, it's super haunted, and I'm not kidding. She's like, I really don't feel comfortable about this. But Sharon's like, no, it'll be fine. I don't really know if Sharon just didn't believe it or what. I don't know. Maybe she just really needed a place to live or something like that. But so she's like, no, it'll be fine. And okay, Vanessa's like, okay, whatever. So she lets Sharon rent the house from her. Sharon only lived there for 2 or 3 months and then started calling Vanessa being like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, she said that something was like a weight was like holding her down, like on her bed at night, and it was like freaking her out. Like, she kept hearing noises and shit, and she just couldn't stay there. So she only stayed there a couple months, and then she left. And then, so the house was empty for a little while. And again, like, Vanessa kept getting approached by people that were saying, hey, like, what's the deal with the mannequin in the window? Like, everybody kept seeing, like, somebody in the window, like, while they were passing by, even though there's nobody in the window. And then they bring in, actually, this wasn't Vanessa's idea. I think that these people volunteered. They weren't, like, Christians or anything. They were from a spiritualist church. And they offered to go in the house and bless it or see what they could do. And they apparently went in there, like, a whole bunch of times to try to see if they could rid the place of spirits or whatever. But, it did not work. So that was also kind of a failure. And basically, so tenants would come. It was kind of like a pattern. Like, people would come and rent the house from her. They would stay for a couple months, and then they would just be like, what the fuck is this? And then they would flee. You know what I mean? One couple lived there for about 4 months, and they left all their shit there. Just like Amityville Horror. So there was that also. So after a while, she just had the house closed up. You know, they turned the electric off and everything like that. And so after that, she kind of thought, well, I got to make money off this thing somehow, right? Because she still owns it. So that was when she got the idea of, like, renting it out to, like, paranormal investigators and the SPR and stuff like that. Look, if you want to rent it for a short time and go in there and do an investigation or something like that, she would let them do that. So I think that's where a lot of the the stuff that you see on YouTube of like people that were staying in there for days and days. I think that's where that came from, because she was renting it out to them for like a little while.
Well, that's a good gig.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. She, like I said, she owned the house. She didn't want to fucking live in it.
And it was paid for.
And it was, yeah, so.
Okay, yeah. So they're paying for the upkeep just by having people come in and fucking stay in it and do their paranormal stuff.
Yeah. Well, and they got a lot of takers because she wrote a book too, so the case got like pretty famous. So people would come from kind of everywhere.
Yeah, let's see what everybody's talking about. Okay. Yeah, Oscar said that my poltergeist experience sounds fucking, what is it, chemically induced? Drug induced? Yeah. No. My aunt, my uncle also saw it. It wasn't just me. And then, like, the neighbors, when we went back to Lois's house, you know, that shit happened on more than one occasion, and in more than one locations too. I mean, fucking, it happened at my house for a little while, like a day or two, and then we went back to Lois's house, and it happened there for like another couple weeks, or no, went up a couple weeks, probably 3 or 4 days, 4 or 5 days, something like that. I don't remember how long I was there. It's wild shit, man. But no, I was too young, man. I couldn't afford drugs. I was like 14. I didn't have any money. Yeah. I have a fucking, looking back on that, man, that shit happened. It's fucking weird. I mean, stuff will still happen every now and then around here, but I got to where it doesn't really faze me. Before, it would have fucking scared me pretty bad, and it would have kept doing it probably. Like, the last thing I remember happening is that I was looking at the TV and I turned away to grab something, and when I looked back, a fucking pair of rolled up, balled up socks fell out of nowhere. I didn't see where it came from. It just fell into my field of vision between me and the TV, probably about 4 feet away. That was weird. But I didn't even dwell on it. I just picked it up, put it back, put them in the closet with the rest of the socks. I don't know where it came from.
Like I said, we're just kind
of all right. It did.
Indoor to it.
I ignore it. Yeah.
Like I said, the same thing happened with this piece of paper.
Yeah.
That had the disappeared for a couple of days and then just like turned up in plain sight.
Right there. Right. Yeah. That's typical.
In a place where we had looked a bajillion times before.
That's typical poltergeist phenomenon.
Yeah. So it's,
and you don't want to fucking dwell on it and start feeding it, because it can get kind of negative, especially if it starts scaring you. It'll become more frightening. So you just don't want it to go down that path. It'll be like a feedback loop. The more scared you get, the fucking more fucked up shit it'll do.
Yeah, the more it ramps up.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think in recent times, and I'm talking about the last few years, not at this house, but at the house we lived in Sanford.
Yeah.
Probably the worst manifestation of that was the thing that happened in the kitchen with all those statues coming off the...
Yeah.
Because that was like kind of violent.
Tore down the molding and through the statues. All in one fucking stroke. Bam! It was just instant.
Because you were mad about something.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I was at work.
It happened behind my back. I turned away and it all happened at once. Bam! Yeah.
But I think that was the most... Like the biggest deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wasn't alone. My mother was over at that time.
Yeah.
She saw it. But her back was turned to it too. And the head of the HOA was there. Of the housing authority. She was there at the same time. And her little kids. 2 little kids were with her. Maybe because of the little kids there, it was able to get more power.
Yeah, maybe so. Because that seemed like that was... I kind of wish I'd seen that, but I was at work. I didn't see it.
We were all in the kitchen area, and they were in the little dining area, and we all just happened to be looking away from it. Yeah. And it just all happened at once. Bam! Fucking, we looked around, and there's fucking statues of horses on the ground. The molding pulled off at the top of the fucking... cupboards. Yeah, and the fucking weird. Screws were all fucking bent.
Yeah, that was weird. I saw the aftermath.
Yeah, like, and they started making excuses. Must be that the air conditioner was blowing on it and it warped. And I went, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, sure.
Because she didn't know, that woman of the HOA had no background. My mom knew what it was.
Yeah.
because she'd seen it before.
Well, didn't you tell me that your mom knew when you were in that motorcycle wreck a long time ago in the Army because she saw an apparition of you?
Yeah, we got kind of like a psychic link. If something bad happens to me,
she saw an apparition of you.
Yeah. If something bad happens to me, she knows. She'll call, come looking for me. I was in the Army at the time. She called.
Yeah. Like back in the 90s or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like she said, according to her, she told me that she saw an apparition of him.
In the kitchen.
And she knew, like in the kitchen of her house. And she knew that something bad had happened to him. And that was when he was in the motorcycle wreck and was in a coma. And she called them. Like, what happened? What happened to him? Like, she knew because she saw him. I don't remember what... I think he didn't do anything, like, scary. I think she just told me he was in the kitchen suddenly and said something like, "Hi, Mom," or something like that. And she's like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, she told me about that. But yeah, it's pretty weird. But she was over... like I said, I was at work, but she was at the house, and the HOA person was over at the house that day for some reason. I don't remember why they were there, but yeah, Tom was mad about something he said, and I don't remember what he was mad about, but all the stuff came off it was, the top of the cabinet thing in the kitchen. It's those cabinets, but they don't go all the way to the ceiling. There's like a space, and there's like little statues up there, and they all came down and broke. Like they came flying off. It was like crazy. But yeah, so she rented this place out to all these paranormal investigators and stuff like that. So a bunch of them kind of went in there and got videos and stuff like that. Like I said, I didn't see all of them, but I did watch a few of them. None of them looked super impressive, at least to me. It just kind of looked like your regular ghost hunter type of show where they're just kind of like, "Did you hear that?" Like a little like noise kind of somewhere, and like they're making a big deal out of nothing. I don't know. So I'm not saying it's not haunted. I'm just saying that I didn't see any of these paranormal YouTube shows that came up with anything that impressed me. You know what I mean? So there was that. And after a while, she did have the place on the market. Like I said, she was renting it out for short periods of time to these little, but she was in the market to sell it. But she's like, for 12 years, she couldn't really sell it because it kind of had a reputation in the village, and a lot of people didn't want the baggage, I guess. And finally, though, in 2020, the house did sell. I believe for about the equivalent, about $300,000. And apparently the person that bought it was a woman. She was a divorced woman and a complete skeptic. I don't know if she's still there. I thought that I saw a thing that said that she had also moved out after 3 or 4 years, but I'm not sure if that's the case. So I don't know if that woman is still living there now. I couldn't really find anything newer than that, like reporting any newer, like if you do any searches about this place and about like the paranormal stuff, it's pretty much all about Vanessa, because she's the one that wrote the book about it, and was in the media about it a lot. So I don't really know. I don't really know if the person that's living there now is experiencing anything and they just don't want to talk about it, or if they're not experiencing anything, because some people don't, I kind of feel like that happens a lot. And I don't know if that's always because one person's just making the story up, so then the next person moves in and nothing happens to them because they're not expecting anything to happen. But as far as I know, nothing's going on there now. But I don't know if that's true.
All right, well, that's a good case.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, Papa says make it an Airbnb.
Yeah.
That seems like a good idea, because you could get... I mean, I kind of feel like a lot of people would stay there because people love haunted shit.
It's a lot of stories at this point. There wasn't any independent witnesses in most of these stories that she's talking about. So like it's not like Enfield where the police were over there, and that the fucking newspaper reporters were there and saw the shit. It's not like that, but there's no telling. There's no telling.
Yeah, I mean,
you'd have to be there probably.
The thing about it, it's like you could say, I think on the tape library, he made the point where he's like, yeah, she could just be making this all up. But on the other hand, she did have a whole bunch of friends that said that they had stuff happen to them. So it's like, if she did make it up, she probably had to like coordinate it with a whole bunch of different people. And it's like, and she didn't really make any money off of it. It was just
Yeah.
kind of like a pain in the ass in the end because she couldn't sell the house for a really long time. And she wasn't really making any, I mean, she was a single mom and she wasn't making any money off it.
The phenomenon that she describes basically falls under the fucking poltergeist. And poltergeist isn't really a haunting. It's not really a ghost. It's a psychic manifestation of a person who's alive. You just don't realize that it's them. They're attributing it to an outside force. And that's usually somebody in their teens, early teens, 13, 14, 15, around that time. An older person can do it, but it's just not as good as a real young one. It's more activity, stronger. Because they're younger, so they get more afraid. You know what I mean? They can't rationalize what happened. They think it's a ghost or a demon. So it can get pretty fucking strong. Older people fucking can say, this thing ain't all that.
We get jaded.
It's invisible. It's invisible, but it can't do shit. This is some quantum physics bullshit, and that would diffuse it.
Yeah.
Because it feeds off of emotion. It's the subconscious mind of a person. And I also think there might be group synergy involved. You might be where you have 2 or 3 people together, and it might be 2 people, the subconscious of 2 people playing off of one another doing it. That might be a possible.
Yeah,
too.
and like singly, it wouldn't happen with either one of them.
Right,
when
you
they're
get 2 of them
it's
together.
some kind of
And then they can.
perfect storm.
Yeah, there's like a psychic synergy happen between 2 at the subconscious level, and they start doing it. So that's another possibility. Because it happened a lot when I was around my cousin. Or my aunt.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't know why. Maybe they attributed to it in some way. Maybe it was just the reminder of it, or the, what do you call it, the atmosphere of being around them might trip it off. And I'm not saying that. How are you going to prove that, this person's psychic force and the other person's psychic force are doing it? How are you going to prove that? You could never prove it, really.
Yeah, not really.
Not scientifically. So, you just got to keep be skeptical, but keep an open mind. There could be multiple things. And it also could be hoax. There's a lot of that. A lot of hoax.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to make up a story.
Yeah.
And especially you could take stuff from like various horror movies you've seen over the years and just kind of put it all together into one thing.
What I do when I hear this kind of shit, I go, that sounds good, but I have to be there myself. I'd have to see this myself. I'm going to go there and see. That's my attitude. How about, you like to see it for yourself?
Yeah, I'd be curious to go there, actually.
Yeah.
I've been in some places that were purportedly haunted.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel anything. So I don't know if that's just because I'm not open to it, man, or like whatever, but
you can say anything. You can say, well, you're not attuned to it. Another person's more sensitive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it could be.
You could say that.
That's what I mean. And you
would
could
it
have,
be true? I don't know.
See, that's the thing. Is it just an excuse?
Right.
I was like, or maybe there's really just nothing.
Maybe
going
if
on
you
here.
get scared, it might start. That might start the ball rolling. You don't know. Because poltergeist is kind of like that. Something small happens, you get scared, it'll do something bigger. You know what I mean? And it'll get bigger and bigger. Yeah. Then you can't handle it anymore, and you'll run from it, and it'll stop. You go back, it'll start from slowly again. So it was constantly starting and stopping, building up to something. But you're kind of scared to fucking know what it was building up to.
Yeah, you probably don't want to know.
Yeah. What I was mostly afraid of is that I'd fucking turn around and see like an old rotten skeleton there looking at me or something. You know what I mean?
Like from Creepshow.
Yeah, like from Creepshow.
I want my cake.
Yeah.
That would be scary if you turned around and saw that.
But I never saw anything other than fucking like blue hazy mist look kind of stuff.
Yeah, you didn't really see any like
kind of
human, like,
weird
apparitions.
invisible balls that you could you felt like it was looking at you. It was up in the corner. It was kind of a spherical distortion area. You're not quite sure you were seeing it. You go, you see that? He goes, yeah, I kind of see something there. Yeah. And you go, it's gone now. Yeah, it's gone. It went away. It was just that kind of shit. You're not quite sure.
Yeah.
Like it's just outside the range of human vision. But just a little bit you could see it. It's weird.
Burley says, are there any haunted RVs? I mean, there's got to be at least
RV?
An RV, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's a traveling. Maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We could pretend and we'll get
Christine
an RV.
was a haunted car.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Zach says this probably isn't the show I should be listening to while trying to go to sleep.
Yeah.
It is pretty creepy. Like I said, I don't know. I tend to be skeptical of this kind of stuff. This one, there is a lot of poltergeist type activity, but there's a lot of apparitions too.
You're right.
And I wasn't sure.
Some poltergeist though too.
That I had a chapter
it's
about
reported.
that in my book too. But
yeah, like Steve Merritt says, it happens in like 30% of the cases. There's some kind of an apparition of something. But you know, the thing is that Steve is talking about cases that he was not part of. He didn't see it. He's just talking about what was reported. About in what you would say, yeah, that's poltergeist. 30% of them, people saw a person or a figure, you know. But usually it's not anything like long term, or usually it's not moving. You know what I mean? It's like somebody sitting and then they vanish. That kind of shit. Fucking the Phantom says, Ed, what is it?
well, somebody said, "Can you Airbnb the Amityville house?" And Phantom said, "Amityville was fake." Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And Ed cucked out Lorraine with a minor named Judith Penny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was allegedly.
Yeah, and another thing is that you're.
Although they're dead, they can't.
You're. Another thing is that you're falling into stereotypes. For all you know, Lorraine might have been into that shit. She might have been fucking bi. That might have both been their girlfriend. You don't know.
Yeah, because we know some people like that.
Yeah, we know a lot of people like that. Fetish scene has a lot of them.
Where it's just kind of like.
Yeah. So they just, you know, a couple will just get a girlfriend for a while.
And it's usually, well, it's not always. Sometimes it's the woman's idea.
What's that?
Sometimes it's the woman's idea. The main couple that we know are like
the main couple,
it's
her idea. Yeah, it's girls she picks up.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not girls. They're
Yeah.
women. They're in their
Yeah.
30s at least.
Yeah, because they're like our age.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I kind of feel like I don't know what they were like behind closed doors.
Who, those two?
Ed and Lorraine.
Boring, probably. That's kind of a bully.
I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like the dynamic that they presented to the world was that, yeah, he was very bullying and she was very submissive.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Like, in behind closed doors, he might have been one of those people that, like, he enjoyed her making him, like, drink out of the toilet. You never know.
She might have been pegging him. You don't.
That's what
know.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because sometimes dudes that are like that, like in their public life,
Yeah.
sometimes in private they like to be humiliated.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, so they'll pay a chick to like step on their balls or like make them drink out of a dog bowl or something like that. So it's just kind of like, now I'm kind of wondering, why am I picturing, oh God, now I'm not going to be able to now I'm picturing the two of them doing that.
Yeah.
Yuck.
I've seen some interviews with like dominatrix. They say a lot of the clients that they have are like in the corporate world. This is out in New York. They're like well-paid dudes in the corporate world that have a lot of power over people and a lot of responsibility, but it fucking drains them. They want a vacation from being in charge of shit, so they just want some woman to be in charge. And they're free from responsibility. They just be submissive.
Yeah.
But you know, you gotta be a sick.
It's pretty common.
Yeah.
I think.
You gotta be a pitiful motherfucker though to pay some chick come kick you in the nuts.
Some dudes do it though.
That's the ball torture fetish.
Like I said, that's kind of like the only sex work I would probably enjoy.
Jan fucking was watching this video, the fucking chick with these awesome fucking wicked looking heels, torturing this dude, fucking, you know what I mean? His whole fucking package, man. And I was fucking, my fucking skin was crawling, and she's laughing.
He was like,
I'm going like, you don't know what.
And I was just like cackling.
He had a board split down the middle with a hole in the middle, so he could trap his junk through that board. He was laying on his back, and she had those fucking wicked stripper heels with the long fucking stiletto heel on the back of it, and was crushing a single one of his nuts up against that board. And I was just going, no, genuinely laughing.
I know, and like, the more upset you got, the funnier it was.
Oh man, I was like, how the fuck does a nut survive that?
I was kind of wondering that too. I'm like, wow, I didn't think you could like squish a nut like that and have it like not burst and stuff.
And he was screaming,
interesting.
man. And then she was kicking. Then later on, she was kicking him in the nuts. Man.
And it just got funnier.
And it was like, and it wasn't, and it wasn't soft, hard, full on. Boom.
Yeah, she wasn't fucking around.
Yeah.
She was abusing that dude.
Yeah.
But like I said,
and he was this pitiful, skinny dude, like in his early 50s.
I enjoy ball torture.
Long hair and
shit.
shit.
Watching ball torture. It's very amusing.
Look, man, I got a fucking beef roast down there, beef bourguignon. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'll go sit down there and set that shit up.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Phantom said Ed probably put hands on Lorraine. Yeah, I figured he probably did. I got the feeling that he was probably abusive, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
He was old school.
But he seemed like somebody to be like, you gotta slap her around sometimes. You gotta correct him, you know. It's kind of like that kind of situation. All right, so we are going to wrap it up this evening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. We haven't done a paranormal one in a while, so this one was actually kind of fun to do. So yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out with us this evening. Thank you very much for your super chats. Got a lot of them this evening, which we always appreciate. And we will see you guys again on Friday night for the Sidetrack show, which is always fun. So hopefully you can join us for that. Good